What up, everyone? Pat Mayo here, welcoming you to Mayo Media Network. And if you haven't realized yet, this is the Real World Road Rules Challenge Duel Rewatch in 3 parts. Now, this is before it was just the challenge. This is now when we were calling it the Real World Road Rules Challenge. Although, at the duel, we'd evolved past the point of Real World versus Road Rules. That's just what it was called that time. There's a 3-part series, intro episodes, middle episodes, and final episodes, plus reunion from the crew at the Challenge Chronicles podcast. They've done this for a lot of very old seasons. They're still continuing to put everything out, but we're going to re-air their podcast of The Duel up on Mayo Media Network right now for you. If you want to subscribe to the Challenge Chronicles podcast, hit the description or just put in Challenge Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you download your podcast. And Devin, Trace, and Rob will be providing the new season recaps of the challenge every single week on their podcast feed and up on the Mayo Media Network YouTube channel. So I'd recommend, once again, please subscribe, hit the like button, and enjoy the duel.
Welcome to the Challenge Chronicles. My name is Devin Jordan. I'm with Trace Armstrong and Rob McIntyre. How are we doing, guys?
Pretty good, man. How's it going?
Phenomenal. Robert?
It's pretty good over here, too.
We are here to talk about episode 5 through 10 of The Duel. We just released our podcast on the first 4 episodes of The Duel, and I enjoyed these quite a bit. I think I feel like I developed like an overall theme of like kind of where these 6 episodes kind of land kind of in the course of the show's history and just with this season specifically, but I liked them.
Yeah, no, I'm all in.
Yep, they're definitely fun. And it's so weird, too, knowing what's going to happen on, like, the ruins to come. Like, so many of the people that are in huge feuds are, like, all chilling and hanging out and having a great time.
It's so funny. Like, in one of the episodes before, like, right when the episode starts, it's Evan and Wes just kind of, like, fooling around. They're, like, on the pool table. And Wes is, like, laying down on the pool table, and Evan hits... Do you either of you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like he has the chalk balanced on his mouth.
Wes
and taking shots out of it.
Yeah. Wes has the chalk balanced on his mouth, so he can balance a pool ball on his mouth while he's laying on the pool table. And Evan shoots the cue ball off the corner of the table, hits the ball that's balancing on Wes's mouth, and knocks the ball off of Wes's mouth into the corner on the opposite end of the table. Yep. And everyone just like goes crazy.
It is crazy. This is the only thing that can explain this scene: boredom and alcohol.
Yeah,
I don't even think they were that drunk.
I didn't say they were drunk. I just said that there was some alcohol fuel and boredom attached.
I don't even know how, dude.
Because immediately after that, Kenny and Derek and a bunch of them start having like a pro wrestling fight and like staging all of it and are just eye poking and like pretending to jump off corners and like it's what happens when you're bored and drinking.
Dude, I wouldn't let someone who had like a sip of a Corona Light be taking a shot of a pool cue ball out of my mouth.
After they do it, CT goes to Wes and was like, I can't believe you let him do that.
One thing that's actually is in the first episode we covered, but one funny thing I saw too was in the description of that episode that we were looking at, it says Nehemiah defeats Kenny and then like leaving Beth behind or something. I'm like, did this happen? Like the description for these episodes is actually like gives away the episode.
Yes, it does. And the only reason I think it does is this wasn't like the description of the episode from when it aired. It's pulling from like the TV database from my Plex server. And so it's probably getting episode summaries instead of descriptions.
That's funny because this is like one of the first like stretch of seasons. I have most of these or a lot of these on my hard drive. I think I have like from now until like maybe like the Duel 2. And so all of the episodes for me are the name of the challenge for the specific episode. And I wonder what it actually was in real time.
Oh, interesting. This one's called Pushover, which is, I don't know if that's the actual episode title, but it says Pushover.
I know the one that where the Wes and Derek pole wrestle happens is called like the one where Derek goes home or something. And it's like, oh, I wonder what happens here.
Is that
Bothers
Gauntlet
me
2?
so much. But that was it. That's this episode 9 of this season.
Oh, okay.
There's no way that was the actual episode name.
I'm not kidding. Look
It is.
up.
I'm looking at it right now. It is.
Until next time, Derek is the name of the episode.
Shut up, really?
And episode 7 is Nehemiah's last day. You'd be so mad.
Man, I would be so pissed if I had never seen these and was watching them live and seeing the episode titles before they aired. I'd be like, are you for real?
Yeah, I'm not happy about that. That really kills these episodes. That doesn't kill it, obviously. But like how Trace feels about I Can is how I feel about how these episodes are named.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel about the Tiki Tac rules in this stretch of episodes. And like we're in the middle of the era of Tiki Tac rules in the challenge. Like we're smack dab in the middle of it.
And there's I'm fine with Tiki Tac rules.
I would actually disagree. I'd say we're on the downward slope of Tiki Tac rules. This is like the peak, and it all goes downhill from here.
No,
like Inferno 3 is meh, except for the elimination between Abe and Timmy. There's not a whole lot of Tiki Tac that season.
At this point, Johnny Mosley is like commissioner of the challenge competition committee.
He's executive producing.
He is like fully invested, spending like 24 hours a day, 365 days a year is like working on this. Like this is like peak Mosley's involvement with it.
I really want there to be like one episode where they call one of these Tiki Tac rules and he steps out with like a 400-page binder that just has all these rules laid out in front of him.
I want you guys to check your Skype right about now because I'm sending you something that I saw a little bit earlier when I Googled challenge competition.
Oh my gosh. What did a fan of the show put that together? Because there's no way, dude.
I did that earlier today.
So
for everyone that's listening and cannot see what we're talking about at all,
everybody.
Yeah, it's Johnny Mosley's face photoshopped on the NFL's chairman of the competition committee. Well, I don't know. Somehow we'll try and get this out to everyone, but
we have a Twitter that we never use, but we could put it on Twitter.
I'll take.
Let's link to it. Let's link to it in the
show notes. I could do that. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll make it like
over to Twitter at some point.
That'd be good. I definitely don't have time for Twitter. I don't even have time.
I probably don't as much either, but I'm at least a young person, so I'll manage it.
That's true. Thanks, man. That makes me feel so good right now. I'm only over a decade older than Rob. It's fine.
Yeah.
The way his head is tilted in the photo, too, is like the perfect angle for the way that person's standing at the podium.
It really is a dynamite picture. Really is. Good times. So that basically gets us into the challenge there. That ended the shenanigans pre-challenge in episode 5.
Oh, that was the start of episode 5.
It was.
That kind of transitions us, I guess, into episode 5. So Wes on the pool table with Evan is what kicks the episode off. And in my notes, I even say Wes and Evan have a good relationship at this point. And they kind of do throughout the entire course of this season.
Even on the reunion, they're like laughing it up.
Mm-hmm. Kenny talks about how he doesn't really take anything seriously. This is honestly kind of a visibility spike for Kenny at this point, because to this point in the season, he's been somewhat invisible. So it's kind of a good indication that his time may be near. What else happens? The Nehemiah and Beth narrative begins. I guess we do want to point that out.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest. It's probably the second weirdest challenge hookup of all time, with Darrell and was it Leah? Is that her name?
I think this is weirder.
This is way weirder.
What's the age gap here?
Oh, probably 15 years or on Beth's side, because I think Beth was in her mid-30s and Nehemiah was maybe 22.
He was pretty young at this point.
Because Beth was on the Real World. Beth was on the Real World in 95, and we're in 2005 here.
Okay, so Beth is 51. Nehemiah is 34 right now.
Oh my God, that is a huge gap.
I think the amount of romance going on here is really overplayed. Like, I don't think they're actually like that into each other.
Well, Beth certainly plays it up. I mean,
I don't think either of them are that into each other. There was like one scene of them actually being affectionate.
I don't know.
Was there even one?
The one where they're like diving into the bed, I guess they're somewhat affectionate. That's about it.
Nehemiah says that Beth has her back and he has her back. Beth says that Nehemiah was drawn to her. This is where Nehemiah kind of tackles Beth on the bed. So what you alluded to. And then CT, there's kind of that moment at breakfast the next morning after Nehemiah and Beth supposedly cuddled with each other in the bed from the night before, and CT like insinuates in so many ways that Beth and Nehemiah hooked up the night before, and it's kind of funny. But that gets us into the challenge for...
Wait, hold on, though. You guys think that Beth and Nehemiah are weirder than Big Easy and Devin?
100%.
Yeah, I still think
Okay.
so.
It's a 17-year age gap, and their personalities also don't like align at all.
Just so random. You know what I mean?
Random.
Like,
it is random.
it's like Beth had that long history to this point on the challenge too, where she was pretty much one of the most maligned villains in the show's history. At this point, like, who's a bigger villain than Beth?
I got nothing.
No, she's the biggest villain.
It's why she kept getting cast. She was the true villain of the show.
I even think
and that's kind of why it was... Sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
I was just going to say some other weird ones. I even think like Devin and Camilla from Rivals 3 is real wonky.
No, that one's not that wonky to me, because I think Camilla, the way that she is presented on the show is that she's pretty much down if she's into you a little bit. So it's like, okay, hey, she'll go make out with somebody after a drunken night at the club, and it's just a matter of being there.
I just think personality-wise,
that's how she's portrayed on the show.
I can't even remember what I was going to say. So that means we should get into the challenge for episode 5 called Pushover. Men will compete against men. Women will compete against women. There's a large plank that extends from the side of a boat. When TJ signals, contestants will compete in pairs to try and knock each other off the plank. The first person to knock their opponent off the plank and into the water wins. The catch to the challenge is that while you compete, your hands will be bound together. There will be 3 heats for each sex. The original matches, semifinals, and then finals. To start off with setting the first round, each player draws a colored chip out of a bag. The 2 players with the same colored chip as each other will compete in the first round. And this is a male duel day. And for the females, if you win, you get a set of Callaway golf clubs with golf lessons. How did each of you feel about this one?
Who's giving me the golf lessons, did they say?
There was some brand associated with it. I don't remember which brand it was.
Yeah.
It was not Callaway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was an okay challenge. It goes by pretty quick. It's easy to follow. There's a couple surprises. So you know what? I give this a solid daily. Solid.
I love this one.
I like this one a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this. I think there's a lot of good competition, especially for the men.
I was shocked at how long Casey stayed on with Jody. Like, you would expect Jody to just kind of like breathe and Casey would fall off. But Casey actually tried and actually hung on there for a few seconds. I was pretty surprised.
I think one of the best ones is Nehemiah versus Evan. Do either of you remember this one?
Not off the top of my head.
It literally lasts less than half a second. And I don't know if that's an exaggeration. Like, Evan goes up and does a matrix move off of him, just rocks him in his chest, and he does a backflip off the plank. Seriously, go back and watch it.
You're saying in some order CT, Evan, and Wes are the top 3 guys in this season competitively, probably, right?
I don't know, because you still got Brad and Derek there. This cast male-wise,
I think Brad and Derek just have a little bit more holes than CT, Evan, or Wes.
They have more holes, but I would say those 3 are even Wes is. I know Wes won the season, but if you want to go physically, I would put Brad or even Derek over Wes. Even though Wes was jacked, I
was thinking everything considered.
Brad is really good in this season. So Brad,
he's really good.
Brad, does he end up winning? He takes second in this one.
Yeah, he did. And if it wasn't for the soccer thing, he might have won.
He beat CT in the roller rink challenge, and he also he beat someone impressive here, doesn't he? I don't recall.
He beats Big Easy in pole wrestle at one point.
Yeah.
Well, he also.
We'll talk about that later.
I mean, this challenge specifically. He beats Kenny, and then he also beats.
He beats Evan, doesn't he?
He beats Evan, yeah. So I mean, he has a very competitive showing in this challenge and overall this season.
And even on Duel 2, he had a pretty impressive showing. I mean, Brad is
Brad's good. Brad
is solid. He wasn't in my top 6, but man, I'd want him on my team. If I had an option to draft him, I'd probably draft him.
He's great in kind of like the team era. He's like a really good teammate to have.
Yep.
Yeah, and then even like when he comes back in Vendettas and Final Reckoning, you'd say he is a top tier competitor. Like he's probably, after Zach and Tony, the third best guy on Vendettas.
Yeah, I know he's retired, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he came back again. And I really think that he would still do well. He's still in amazing shape. He still wants to compete. So, like, if Brad comes back, bring it on. I'm in.
I'm in for Brad coming back too.
Especially if he comes back as like still midlife crisis Brad, because that was entertaining.
Robin goes against Beth in the finals. Beth ends up winning. And after Beth wins, there's some controversy because Beth is upset that some of the other girls on the sideline started to give Robin advice before she went against Beth in the finals. For the men, it's Derek and Brad in the finals. Derek wins, and we talked about kind of the best competitors in this season just before, and we touched on Derek, but Derek is incredible in this challenge. He is somehow able to beat Big Easy on this, who has, no joke, Big Easy might have like a 200-pound advantage on Derek in this challenge.
I would have said 150 to 160.
How much do you think Big Easy weighs?
And this challenge,
they say anywhere
280.
between 255 and 270. So somewhere in that range.
And Derek probably weighed 160 to 170 in this.
No, I don't think he weighs that much.
Because how tall do you think he is? 5'4", 5'5"?
He's 5'5".
Yeah, there's no way he's 160, dude.
Because Trace, I'm 5'10", as we learned last time. Was that on air where we talked about this?
That was
about how it was on air.
That was on air.
There's a lot of time that gets hazy, but
so I'm 5'10" and I weigh like 165. And so if he's 5'5", he weighs like 150. Does that sound right, Rob?
I mean, yeah, like I'm 5'9", and I go between 145 and 155. And like I'm at like 9% body fat, so I'm in pretty good shape. But I think, how much do you think Derek would be then? He's probably about my weight then, right?
I would have said 155. I would have said 155.
So he's like 125 pounds more than him. Still, that's insane. And he's
insane.
He's able to get under Eric and knock him off the plank. Who does CT lose to here?
He loses to Derek. Derek beats CT in the first round.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I actually think beating CT is much more impressive than beating Big Easy.
I don't think so, because this is all about weight.
This is all about weight and balance.
I think there's a lot of leverage involved. If you look at Big Easy, even against like, who does he beat? He beats West, and who is the second person he beats?
Well, he doesn't beat a second person. He just loses.
He loses
Derek.
to Derek. That's right. But like when he goes against West, his form is just so wonky. And what happens is like West like flips over him and then just gets put right next to the water and falls off. It's not like he just overpowers him.
I love West, but West has often made poor decisions in strategy in these games. Like I remember specifically one of the eliminations for Battle of the X's with the X Battle thing. It's kind of like pole wrestle, but it was the X or whatever. And he tried to do some like matrix spinning move that put him on his back, and then the thing just got ripped out of his hands. Like,
well, yeah, that's kind of proving my point though, and that Big Easy is not like that impressive in this.
Who did West lose to?
Big Easy. So like I don't think like his Big Easy's, when we get to it, it's not even in this set of episodes. But his form against Brad is like the weirdest thing I've ever seen in pole wrestle.
I don't remember.
I would argue like Eric is a big dude and he's super strong. Like if I was needing him to be my I can person, as sad as that is, Like, I would want Big Easy going in because he's going to eliminate whomever he goes up against in that because he's that strong. But Big Easy also doesn't strike me as an athlete, like, at all. So
I would think he's poor coordination. Like, poor coordination in terms of just knowing how to use the body.
Exactly. Like, knowing how to use your size versus just having size are two very different things.
He's one of those people that I feel like he always has like a lower probability. So he has a lower probability to win a season than most people who are on the show for the length of time that he was on the show. Does that kind of make
100%.
sense?
No, well, he just can't run finals. Like, there's he could run a final.
There's few people that stick around as long as Big Easy with as low of a chance to win as he does.
Yeah.
And especially after he went on Gauntlet 3, like his chances of winning pretty much evaporated.
I don't think he was ever winning anything, man. Like, there's no way.
But he is an entertaining character, though. I don't even think
he's that entertaining. I don't want to take too many shots. Like, I've never met him.
I know that. I think he served his purpose on the show because he was a point of drama in the fact that no one really wanted to go into elimination against him because if it was a strength elimination, he was probably going to beat you. But if it was a puzzle, you could probably beat him pretty quick, which is why the Gauntlet 3 was such a joke because there was only one out of those 4 eliminations that might have been a gimme for him. But we'll get to that when we talk Gauntlet 3. I don't want to go too far into that tonight. But yeah, I really feel like the majority of eliminations serve against him. Because, didn't he lose a slap fight to Luke?
No, he won the slap fight.
I thought Luke made it to the final. Did he lose that?
Oh, no, you're right. He did win the slap fight. What did he win? Did he win the dice rolling thing?
He won the dice rolling thing, but he beat Derek from Cancun or something, which...
So the slap fight was between Luke and Big Easy?
Yeah.
There was multiple slap fights.
It was the first time Big Easy had shaved his beard in like a long time, so he had like super fair baby skin for that.
How did you lose that one? You just tapped out? Or what?
No, there's like a thing you hold.
You had a weight in your hand, and if you dropped the weight, then you lost.
Derek wins for the men, and Beth wins for the women. That gets us into the selection process. And who gets selected here? So Nehemiah is the odd person out in the selection process, and he decides that he wants to go against Kenny to compete in the duel. Nehemiah draws a sender from the cards, which is an elimination match that we've already seen before. After the challenge and before elimination, we get some controversy between Beth and Jody, where Beth says that she doesn't appreciate that Jody and some of the other girls gave advice to Robin, and that if they don't cut it out with this alliance, Beth is going to have to start, quote unquote, taking them out. Jody goes back to her alliance of Robin, Beth, Keena, DM, and tells them what Beth said, and that's about it. I don't know. There's really not much that comes from it. I almost wonder why they included that, because pretty much most of the time they go from the challenge directly into elimination, or a lot of times
I think they want to give enough of a Beth versus the quote unquote drama mafia story.
Yeah, I would say that's exactly what they're doing is Beth is the only villain this season. There's no one else on this cast that is inherently unlikable. Like everyone else.
CT's like definitely like an anti-hero at least.
Exactly. Like he is the Punisher to, I don't know.
And Robin they also make to be relatively unlikable.
Yeah, but Robin's got longevity on the show, so like she's got her fans. Like there's not a whole lot of fans of Beth.
I don't think Robin had many fans at all after this season.
I would have argued after the island is when her popularity waned.
She's a really interesting character. She kind of just like spirals off at a certain point. Like up until this moment later on in the show that we'll talk about between Robin and Anissa, up until then, she's like, in my mind, like a relatively like...
She's a pretty plain Jane character.
Exactly, right? And then that happens, and then it's pretty much like every season from here on out, they depict her as more and more of a train wreck, pretty much. And I don't know what changed, or if it was always there and they just didn't depict it. But we get shown a different person than we had up until this point in the show's history.
Basically, the way I would say Robin's character is, it's basically Julie if she wasn't a Mormon at this point.
Yeah, because prior to this season, like I would say Robin's only claim to fame prior to this point was dating Mark Long on the show. And the drama that went around that.
In the Inferno.
That's right. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. The one that put me to sleep.
We get to the duel for episode 5. It's a sender, and just to go over it quickly again, you compete against your opponent at the same time. You each have identical kind of, not obstacle courses, but a course that you have to go through where you climb up a ladder. At the top of the ladder, climb across some monkey bars, release your puzzle pieces, climb back across the monkey bars, climb back down the ladder, gather the puzzle pieces that you just dropped from the air, and assemble a puzzle. The first person to assemble their puzzle completely wins. The other person goes home, and the winner gets, again, a Seiko watch. Does everyone get a Seiko watch? Everyone gets a Seiko watch, or
they get Xbox
an Xbox?
360.
Yeah. So can you imagine being the unlucky one at this time that goes into the duel on the rotation where it's a Seiko watch and not the Xbox 360?
Yeah. Exactly. That's
gotta
like
suck.
one of the pawn shop or eBay.
No, I'm sure. That's probably why Wes throws himself in when he does.
Did either of you notice that Beth is holding Nehemiah's shirt?
Yes.
Nehemiah
so weird.
Is that the first time this is done? Because like by the time you get to Rivals, like people are always like,
this is the first season where they started putting names on the shirts. Before that, like Fresh Meat, they had colors and a logo, but not
there weren't names. Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't even think, were they like actual jerseys on Fresh Meat, or were they just wearing?
They were just a t-shirt.
Clothes.
They were just like a t-shirt that had an iron-on logo. I mean, they were just the cheapest crap you could possibly imagine.
These are t-shirts as well, though.
Yeah.
No,
well, you know what's really funny?
Those, though.
Derek tells a story on one of the podcasts. He was a last-minute replacement on this season. Like, he was just an alternate. And somebody, I don't know. He didn't say. But he was added to the case late. And so on the first episode,
I'm joking,
everyone else has like a printed jersey name, and his is Athletic Tape.
His does look different than everybody else. I think I might have seen it somewhere. There was actually, don't quote me on this, but I think it might have been Johnny Tanya's partner from last season.
Okay. I will have to take your word on that. I don't know who dropped. I just know that Derek said he was a last-minute replacement, which is why his shirt wasn't ready for the first challenge. And they
so weird they wouldn't want to cast Derek at this point.
I think at this point it was just that he had been on so many. How many in a row had he been on?
I guess so, but I mean, he has two.
He'd been on every season in a row up to this season.
From Sexist 2 on, yeah.
So it was Sexist 2, Inferno 2, Gauntlet 2, Fresh Meat. So that was 4 seasons in a row. I mean, that very rarely in this era did you get that many seasons in a row.
So he goes all the way from there until Gauntlet 3 without a break.
No, he's not on.
He's not on Gauntlet 3, but he's on.
He's on Inferno 3.
He's not on Duel 2, which is also surprising.
He's on the island.
He is on the island. He wins the island. So, yeah, because he finally gets his first win on Inferno 3, which we cover next series, which I'm excited about. The lost season for a lot of people. It's probably the hardest season of the challenge to find.
Really?
Yeah, the rest of
I bet this is on Daily Motion.
No,
it's not. I'm looking right now.
If you dig, it is really hard to find this season.
Man, I think I have this one on my hard drive. Yeah, dude, it's on Daily Motion. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, then someone's found it and published it, because it has been hard to find for a long time.
I feel like the lost episode of the challenge is, and I'm disappointed that no one that listens to this show has been able to get it to us, is the reunion of Gauntlet 2. That's one of like the few episodes that I've never seen at the show.
I've seen it somewhere.
From the early part of the show.
It was on like YouTube for a while before it got taken down. And I remember watching it because there used to be some message board.
No, what it was is there was like, I think and I think we've talked about this before too. It was almost like they did like, as the final episode of the show aired, they kind of spliced in moments from the reunion show, which was about to air immediately after. And they had like moments with like TJ and some other people where they kind of like talked about like what was going on. And that's where the relationship between Jamie Murray and Cara and Montana came out. No, it was between all three of them. It was between all three of them.
I thought they knew about the Cara one.
And then, if I remember, but see, that's the thing is, I didn't watch Gauntlet 2 live when it aired. I was in a weird place with school and work at the time, and I was not paying attention to the show, unfortunately, at the time. But I have seen the unedited reunion at some point, and if I remember correctly, I remember seeing the unedited version of Mark Long retiring the bandana and giving it to Derek. So, like, it was out at some point, but it has all but disappeared now.
Yeah, that episode's fallen off the face of the earth. How would you even go about getting it? Like, if we really wanted to get it, like, how would you even do it?
Ask Derek if he has, like...
Someone probably that is a fan of the show has it on a hard drive somewhere or a VHS tape. There's a guy on Reddit that claimed he had the entire... Like, he found a box of VHSs at his parents' house, and it had the lost season of Road Rules that has basically been deleted from existence in Maximum Velocity, and he claimed he had the whole season, and I was like, mail it to me and I will rip it. I will post it, send you digital copies, and he never got back to me.
Someone needs to
be careful. The FDIC is not going to be happy with us with these shows.
Someone just needs to put all of that on a Google Drive, post it on the challenge Reddit, and just say, here you go.
You know, this sounds sad. If I had the time, I would do it. But quite frankly, I would need monetary incentive because I have every season. So it's like, okay, if you really want it, but I would get sued. So, you know, I don't feel like getting sued right now.
Because, like, what is, like, do you think Google would even do anything if, like, MTV reached out to them and told them to take it down?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I don't think
on YouTube, they have auto software now. Like, I posted an episode of our podcast that had a sound clip, and they wouldn't let me post it because of a 30-second audio snippet. Yeah.
Which one?
It was one of the fantasy episodes. I used a background of a techno song that I had as like a bumper music, and it would not let me post it until I deleted the bumper music. And the moment I deleted the bumper music, it posted.
Interesting.
So I would say
back to the duel.
Yeah.
Back to the duel. Nehemiah beats Kenny pretty easily. Mr. Beautiful goes home. Beth says, quote, Nehemiah is still here, my tenderoni, end quote.
Of course. There's a lot of weird stuff in the end of this episode.
After the elimination, Beth tries to get Anissa to come and do an alliance with her. And at this point, Wes enters into the alliance as well. And this is one of the all-time weirdest alliances in the show's history where this
is definitely like an out of necessity alliance.
For sure. Beth, Anissa, exactly. Wes, and Nehemiah.
Yeah. We'll see. It becomes a problem late. Okay.
The four horsemen of the duel.
Oh my god!
Well, Svetlana mixes in here too.
So which
one thing I think was funny too. So TJ says at one point that Nehemiah had a record time for the Ascender when like 4 people have played it so far.
Who else did it?
It was Tyler, Derek, Kenny, and Nehemiah. So.
Episode 6 starts. Before the challenge, some of the girls and CT and Brad are wearing wigs around the house that I assume are either from DM or Anissa. And
I just have them around.
DM might have been DMs too, because DM brought several wigs this season.
This is where we really start to get a lot. This is pretty much where we are fully introduced to the relationship of DM and CT. They're dancing with each other at the bar. Beth and Anissa, after we get done with the bar scene, we're shown Beth and Anissa trying to align with Svetlana and tell her that if one of them wins the challenge, that means they're safe and won't have to go into the duel that day.
It's not true, though. No. I hate that reasoning. In the duel, if you don't win, you might get picked in the order, but even if one of the heavy hitters is at the bottom, they're totally picking one of them.
Correct.
I think they might pick Casey.
Unless they win they would definitely pick Casey.
They would definitely pick Casey, but if Casey's gone, I'm sorry. I'm either going to pick Sveti or Beth or Anissa. Well, maybe not Anissa, because Anissa, as I have said, just finds a way to hang around and win eliminations. So, I probably wouldn't go against Anissa.
I still think you push as many chips into your favor as you can.
The other alliances are then shown talking about Beth, and in a confessional, Kina has a big what the fuck moment here where she says Beth is masterminding the game. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Beth is like Russell Hance over there making
He's giving away idols to protect his alliance and double cross people. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what the real problem is here for them though, they need to rope in one more guy in this alliance. They don't do it.
Well, there's no one else that would. The closest one that might align with them is Evan, because here's the thing.
Wes works on Evan a lot at one point.
This is the thing that astounded me rewatching this season. Politically, Wes was golden in this season.
That's what I always tell people. No one buys me on that.
Here's the thing.
He was in such a crappy situation. He actually worked himself where he's one elimination.
Well, the thing is all the people he was on Fresh Meat with, because of how well he did and fought, they did not want to mess with him this season. And so all of them were cool. You watch, Wes and Evan are getting along. Wes and Kenny are getting along. It's really interesting to think about what would have happened on this show if Kenny and Johanna hadn't hooked up on the island.
Yeah,
Wes's entire character arc would look very different.
That is the number one question of the challenge for me, is what happens between this season and the Ruins that makes everybody hate Wes.
So this is my thing with Wes this season. I think no one just wants to go against him in the duel. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to. He is consistently one of the last guys picked. Say that again?
They could just leave him at the bottom.
That's what they're doing. He's always one of the last guys picked.
But he gets picked still.
Yeah, by one of the girls at the very end. He's probably one of the last guys always picked before Nehemiah and Easy. Him and Easy are probably one of the last couple of guys every time. So that's what I think it is everyone knows that he's a great physical competitor, and why
it was only when
why would you want to do that unless you don't have to?
Exactly. Only when you had to go against West this season did they.
We get into the challenge for episode 6 called Flying Leap. Suspended 20 feet over water, there are 2 platforms with a gap in between them. On each side of the platform, there are flags for each individual contestant to collect. The object is to jump back and forth from platform to platform and collect as many flags as possible. The person with the most flags at the end of 3 minutes wins the challenge, and contestants will compete 2 at a time, not necessarily directly against each other, but they just wanted to have 2 people go at a time. And the men and the women will compete separately. This is a female duel day, and men can win 2 plane tickets on Frontier.
That's not a good prize.
It might have been better back then, Trace.
It's just cheap.
That's the thing. Frontier is great if you are doing a weekend getaway and you can carry on your own bag and you don't care about comfort. If you are going on a real vacation, Frontier is about the most stressful flight of your life.
Why?
So I have flown Frontier twice, and it was both times for vacation because the fare was ridiculous. It was $300 round trip with upgrading everything. The service was bad. The flights are always late. I mean, it really just and the planes are dirty. It just is it's low budget. It's the bus of the air is the best way to
How many people are in a row?
There's worse than Frontier. I fly Frontier 3 times a year because,
it's a direct to Denver,
3 trips a year. Well, they're based out of Denver too. I'm pretty sure, but
so
it's
you can get a direct flight. Yeah,
dude, it's crazy cheap. So I had to go back for a bachelor party a few years ago, and I didn't get the ticket at the time. But the person who was having the bachelor party sent me this ticket from San Diego to Denver round trip. Guess how much it cost?
$99.
Robert.
Oh God, I have no idea what airline price is. $125.
it was $75
Yeah.
Wow.
for
That
a
is
round
really
trip
cheap.
ticket.
Yeah, and see, like on Delta, my average ticket is like $500. Yeah. So I hear you.
How many people are in a row on a Frontier flight?
3.
Yeah.
3? Okay.
I mean, it's like, again, if you are by yourself and you're just trying to get somewhere and get there fast and cheap, it's great. But if you're trying to like rest on your way to vacation, not a good look. My wife has a hashtag that she put on Instagram, like "Don't fly Frontier," because it was so problem ridden both times we did it. So even though it's cheap, I've been told never to book them again.
Eric jumping back and forth on the platform
Like
on
a
this
salmon.
challenge looks extremely painful.
He basically was like a
barely makes
salmon
it.
flopping up a dam. I mean, that's really what it looked like. Like his arms are by his side and he's like flopping onto it. It's pretty hysterical.
CT breaks the challenge pretty much.
He does.
Oh, he actually, it's funny. He doesn't beat Evan and West by that much, but the way
It's crazy that he doesn't,
Yeah. It is
because
funny.
he's, to visualize it for everyone that hasn't seen this episode in a while or hasn't seen the episode at all, CT is able to jump platform to platform without having to dive on his chest, while everyone else, to make it across the platform, has to jump across and land on their chest, get up, grab the flag, and then go back to the other side. CT is literally just hopping back and forth, and the final CT ends up winning and gets 35 flags, and Evan comes in second with 33, and I think someone else either has 33 or 31. But
Yeah, West has like 31.
I can't believe that he only beat him by 2 flags. It seems like it would save way more time than it actually did.
Yeah. This was the season where I realized how underrated CT was in this era. And Kenny had the best commentary ever on CT. I think it was after Rivals 1 where he was on Derek's old podcast. He said to beat CT, especially in this era, you don't have to beat CT. You just have to outlast him because he always self-destructs somewhere, or he's on a team that self-destructs.
I don't think he's underrated, really, though. I think people consider him the best competitor.
They do, but it's still astounding to me that his first season was the first Inferno, and it took him until Rivals 2 before he finally won.
It's crazy.
Like, it really is astounding when you think
Like,
about how dominant he was to not win.
If he doesn't get that ticky-tack rule and gets knocked out of the show,
He wins the duel.
Well, I
it's
don't
close.
know if we
It's
can say
close.
that for sure.
I think it's close. It's CT versus West in the final, and it's close.
West still wins the soccer challenge, and for all we know, that could have just been what wins.
I mean, it basically did. Brad only lost by a minute and a half.
And like the thing with CT, like he was actually really good on the final in Rivals 2, but it's not like his structure would indicate he's some monster in finals.
No, he's definitely better in the regular part of the show than he is in the final. That's definitely hasn't been his game. Like, he's like good in the finals, but like that's not where he excels.
But see, here's
he's a
what's
bigger
weird, though.
dude. He's smoking cigs.
Other than Dirty 30, where he was really out of shape, like he was at peak out of shape dad bod form on Dirty 30. But other than Dirty 30, every final he's made since Rival 2, he's won. He won Rivals 2. He won Invasion, and he won Invasion by a solid margin.
No, I think Nelson was pretty close on Invasion.
I mean, I would say anything over 5 minutes is solid. And
He's also beating Nelson and Corey, and like
I won't disagree. And the structure of that season was kind of wonky.
The finals all wonky. It's also super
terrible.
heavily swimming.
They pretty much forced it so that rookies would make it into the final. Like they literally just
lost. They still lost.
The format's really weird.
Ashley won, but
yeah, the format of the final itself though is real weird, and like it's super heavy swimming based, which is the one thing Nelson's like real bad at besides puzzles. I think like if you replace those, if you make it so it's a normal amount of swimming in a final, and honestly like there usually isn't much swimming in finals, then I think Nelson wins.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me because, like, I feel it's so weird. Like, for those of you, I'm sorry, if you've watched War of the Worlds 2, here's a spoiler. I feel like it's been long enough now. CT wins War of the Worlds 2 in that team of 4, which is kind of astounding considering the way Team UK played. But it really is astounding to me that Dad Bod CT has more wins than peak athletic CT here at the Duel.
He just gets set up in unfortunate situations for the most part, I think.
I still can't believe we actually saw another team season of the challenge. You know what I mean? I almost kind of assumed that we were just never going to see it again. And being able to have another team season was so nice.
Yeah, and the cast didn't believe it either. From what Johnny Bananas has said, every member of the cast fully expected that the final or towards the final it would become individual or pairs. And so the fact that it stayed teams affected everyone's strategy because everyone was angling for the eventual split of the teams. And when it never came, it was like, oh shit, that was a bad decision I made 8 episodes ago.
I'll make
resisted the urge.
Comment. I'll make one more comment quick on the modern seasons, and then I guess we can move on. But I actually think that's a real problem that they have now. Is since they had a stretch where they did so many of these twists that would pop out of nowhere and completely affect the strategy of the game. Everyone expected them to happen, and then actually wasn't playing the game. They just were expecting something crazy to happen because it probably was going to.
That's a great side trail. Let's actually pause a minute and go down that side trail. So, do you think the gameplay is better on the show when there is no twist that alters towards the end? Like the biggest twist is oh, we're actually going to pick the people for the final elimination right now. To me, that's a twist, but it's not a game affecting twist. Like a format change like they have done, or the Redemption House surprise, that stuff totally affects the game.
The strategy to me is 100% better when the cast knows what's going on.
I agree wholly and completely. I feel like they need to stress to the cast and as producers restrain themselves from doing that, because the show is better when the cast is able to strategize the way to get to the final without a monkey wrench at the last second being thrown.
I think they overlook a lot with the show, and this is throughout areas and in a lot of areas of other shows actually, is watching people be good at something is entertaining. And you need to give them the capabilities to actually be good at the thing that they're doing. There's a reason that watching the NBA or the NFL is entertaining and watching an elementary school sports game is not.
It's why I also appreciate Survivor and what they do in reality TV, because the only real season that was kind of a surprise was the Redemption Island, but they made the twist halfway through the season. So I didn't see Edge of Extinction. I will have to.
That's the one you're talking about.
Well, no, it was the first Redemption Island that Rob won.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Edge of Extinction. Edge of Extinction was a dumpster fire. They literally did everything that they could to try and have that guy win the show, and he ended up winning. I was go ahead.
No, just the Final Four fire making and Heroes. When they initially popped it up, people were not happy about that either.
It was the fact that he could come back, right? But not only did he come back, I was thinking about this right before we got on. Not only did they have him come back, the first vote after he came back, they gave him an immunity idol. So he couldn't even be voted off there. So at that point, he only has to last one more vote before they make it to fire making.
So they kind of did hand deliver the show to him. So I know that's a side trail, but I really truly believe that the seasons are better when the cast knows, okay, this is going to be a team season, or this is free agents where we might have some challenges where you have to work as a team, but ultimately in this game, you are on your own when it comes to whatever. It makes the gameplay and the political maneuvering way better, and it is wildly more entertaining because I will say this. Everybody knows this probably by now. I like Johnny Bananas. I like how he plays the game. I like watching him on my television. But Wes got screwed on Battle of the Exes too. Completely and utterly screwed. He played that game perfectly, and the moment Bananas came back with that Battle of the Exiled surprise, it completely screwed the season up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't even mind twists if they promote good competition, but the cast should know about anything that's going on.
All right, back on the rails. I already said CT wins for the men. For the women, a lot of the women fall off on their first jump. It seems like it's just a little bit too far for a lot of them to make. Jody falls off immediately. So does DM. So does Beth. Casey doesn't even try in DQs. Anissa falls off on her first jump. Robin and Kina and Svetlana all do well. Svetlana, right before they're about to count the flags and after she's already on shore, finds one extra flag in her swimsuit that she didn't realize that she had, and is able to give it to the counters and wins the challenge. She collected 22 flags. Kina
Johnny Mosley
21. That's exactly what I was
and
about
Robin
to say.
21.
Where was Johnny Mosley and his whistle? Because he would never have allowed that to happen.
Not for a second. Not for
too late, bro. You're done.
Beth is thrilled because someone in her alliance won. And Casey is the one who is on the short end of the stick in the selection process. Casey decides that she wants to go against Robin, which is an interesting choice because, well, I don't know. Who else can Casey?
Who else is she picking? I think
Kina maybe. Like maybe Kina makes more sense.
No,
I don't.
I think Robin's.
No, Robin is the right choice here because you want to pick somebody who mentally might check themselves out of it with insanity. I mean, even though Robin to this point was not considered a loose cannon, like she gets wildly offended when people call her out. And so I would want to take the person who mentally might not check in if they're pissed. Everybody else on that cast would have showed up ready to go.
Kina at least has something of a track record where she won a few eliminations in this season on Gauntlet too. Robin really hasn't done much of anything at this point.
Casey draws pole wrestle. Brad
Not
says
good
that
for Casey.
he thinks she'll be fine. Very bad for Casey.
That is the understatement of the show right there.
Beth thinks that if Robin loses, they might be able to convince Brad to switch alliances and come onto their side.
If
we get to elimination, and yeah, seriously, we get to elimination. Pole wrestle is, we've already had this one before, but you pretty much are in the middle of a circle. Each contestant grabs a hold of the pole with both hands, this probably like 3 foot long wooden stick, and you have to wrestle it from your opponent. And the first person to let go of the stick loses and goes home. And after this, it lasts 40 seconds. Robin wins.
This is not Wes versus Derek.
Casey goes home.
You know what, though? I give Casey credit. Casey actually tried. It's not Ruin's Casey who was there to party. She actually tried. She was not going to win, but she tried. And that is all I ask in an elimination. You are probably going to get creamed in some cases, but at least try. And she did try.
After the challenge, go ahead.
Well, there's one thing here I think is odd, and Kina has a confessional where she says she's like on to the alliance of Anissa, Beth, Svetlana, and I guess Wes and Nehemiah. I don't quite know, for one, how she caught on, but also what I think is odd, we see a ton of like Wes and Anissa politicking and like talking strategy. We don't see anything from the other alliance talking strategy. Was it just implied that they knew what was going on?
What do you mean?
I just don't think the other alliance is that interesting.
Well, like we see so many scenes of Wes, Anissa, and Beth talking like, "Hey, when we were on the list, you pick me, I'll pick her. She'll pick Nehemiah."
That makes perfect sense to me because eventually West wins the season, so it's a way to build that Wes is aware and building his case to be in the final. Like from an editing standpoint, it makes perfect sense.
I don't think they're sitting on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I don't think we ever get like a moment where the men and the women talk about it. Like we see the women strategize.
No, Wes is involved.
No, I'm saying on the other alliance. So like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
we never see like Kina and Robin and DM.
I don't see anybody from the other alliance talk at all.
Go to Evan and talk about the selection process. We see the women are obviously in an alliance, and that's explicitly stated, but we don't see their relationship with the men shown to the extent that it actually existed. And I don't know if that's because, I don't know why they didn't want to show it, to be honest. It probably would have.
I think you have to go back to the format. It's a 22 or 21 minute episode that is 4 minutes of recap and theme. So you really only have 17 minutes of an episode. Why show the main alliance who's going to dominate the game, whereas the guy in the minority alliance wins the season? So let's focus on him building his war chest on the way to the final.
Yeah, but Jody also wins the season.
But no one was going to beat Jody.
Yeah, but we don't know that at this point. Like anything, what if she's an I can against Anissa or something and she just loses?
I think they just wanted to showcase the Russell hands of the challenge at this era. I think that's what it was.
At least it's not the Brandon hands where you throw the rice on the fire. You know.
After the challenge, CT and DM are shown talking to each other back at the house. They continue to build the narrative between the two. And DM says that CT makes her feel nice about herself. And after that moment between the two of them, CT is with Anissa and Beth. And really randomly, they throw in a moment where CT says that he's not sure how he feels about DM and isn't sure if he trusts her, which is completely opposed to every other moment that they have throughout the course of the season. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That could be spiced in from anywhere.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's Devin, your cardinal rule of who knows when that was taken. That could have been episode 1.
It's
because by this point, CT was way into DM looking at the events that are happening.
Even though they could have grabbed that from anywhere, I still don't get why they would have put it in. You know what I mean? Just because it's completely...
I think it's to show some hesitancy in the relationship.
Yeah, it's building
that could be
drama.
True.
It's drama. It's kind of like... It's one of those things where if the season is completely predictable, it's not interesting. So you have to find conflict and you have to find contradiction so that you're quote unquote surprised when events unfold. So from an editing standpoint, I get it. But from a longtime fan of the show, looking at it in hindsight, it's that's kind of weird.
As we get into episode 7, Brad talks about how unhealthy the environment is that they put themselves in with being in the house and not being able to trust pretty much anyone around them. Easy has a random confessional, and in my notes I say that, and then next to it, it says he's going in because you get the visibility spike here. Yep. Wes tells Evan that he thinks Derek and Brad are going to try and cut him off first. And that he might be the next one to go in. And I think this is just kind of a moment where Wes is trying to pull over Evan potentially to be on their side. Evan talks about how in the same conversation with Wes, and this kind of shows the good relationship that they have with each other at this time, where Evan talks about how he's getting paranoid in the house. And I think part of that's just joking. He's easily, I think, the most mentally stable person there.
I don't know, but he gets pretty out of his witch by the end of this season.
Yeah, I was about to say, dude, the Duel, the cast has even done interviews about this. The Duel is the most stressful season they've ever done that have been on the show. They say the idea of the list and that you're not safe unless you win, because even if you're not the last picked, they could pick you. And so, there's this level of paranoia that runs through the whole house of, man, I've got to make sure that I've got these right relationships or else I might go in. And by the way, by the end of the season, I'm probably going to have to go in at least one time. And that's freaking scary at this point.
The challenge for episode 7 is a paired challenge day between the sexes where a man and a woman will be partners. Pairs will use a giant swing to launch themselves into the water. The male will launch the female into the water first, and then the female will launch the male into the water first. And it's kind of this giant swing that's on the shore, and you use it to propel your partner into this swim lane that's marked off by buoys. And they will swim 50 feet down the swimming lane to retrieve a soccer ball, swim back with the soccer ball down the lane toward the swing where they first entered the water from, and put the soccer ball in a ring. Once you put the soccer ball in the ring, your time is finished, and if the ball goes out, #ticky-tack rule, at any point in time, you're automatically DQ'd. The team with the fastest combined time wins, and if your team wins and you're a female, you get a video projector, and it is a male duel day, and if you're a male and you win, you are safe from the duel. And this one was okay.
I love this one. It's weird. I love this one.
Derek DQs for the second challenge in a row. I thought this one was good. Beth has a funny moment where she barely makes it into the lane.
Easy, and it's like that's a no-hoper team.
Oh my God, was that a terrible team? It's
Can you
right up there
imagine
with
when
Anissa and Nehemiah? It's like, well, they're gonna lose.
Can you imagine when? Yeah, like Easy's obviously not going to win this, and
Beth like barely gets past the line.
The reaction of Evan when she falls through the air into the water is pretty hysterical. That actually visibly, I had to pause. I started laughing so hard from his reaction.
Were you surprised Wes and Svetlana don't win this one?
I was extremely shocked, and it's Wes's fault. Because Wes is such a good swimmer, he overswam the end of the challenge, and so he lost 3 seconds trying to reorient to get the ball in the hook.
Yeah, Svetlana also doesn't give him a very good like push off the swing.
Yeah, but he's still the best swimmer on the show by far. I mean, like he made great time.
Keena, I think, is actually
wait.
a swimmer.
You said he didn't get a good jump off the swing, dude. He's flying off of it.
He got a good dive. If Svetlana had got him a better swing off of it, he would have gone another 6 or 7 feet easily.
Do you think it just comes down to the difference in swimming capabilities between Keena and Svetlana?
Maybe so, but Svetlana's a good swimmer too. Maybe
I would actually say Svetlana did fine. Wes overswam when he dunked the ball. He swam too hard and misplaced it, and it took him 2 or 3 seconds to reorient and put the ball in the hoop. I mean, they only lost by I think it was 2 seconds.
Well, they're also the first pair to go, though, too, right? So they probably just probably some things I'm not aware of.
I really think that this was just a victim of Wes got too jacked up and didn't close.
Keena and Evan.
One thing I'd be curious to take tally of: how many first people to go on a mission where it's a disadvantage to go first to go actually win?
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
It hasn't happened often. The only one that comes to mind is Leroy and Adam in Rivals 1. First team to go and won.
That's a real dumb mission, though.
You would be able to test that pretty easily, too.
Yeah.
That's like one of like the few like stats that they actually keep, like who wins the mission, what's the order of the mission. But
where's our challenge stat guy? We need to email him and ask that question.
Well, once I get to this Calc 2 done, I'll go back through and look at it.
Can you do a differential equation about it?
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
Evan wins.
God. Sorry, the Beth dive just flashed across my computer monitor, and
it's not a good look.
Woo, man, that wasn't even falling. That was just like, I don't know what you call it. It was bad.
Evan and Keena win. Evan is safe from the duel. The selection process begins, and it gets to DM, and she does not pick Eric, and she says that she thinks Eric may be upset with her because she did not pick him. And Beth is the last pick, and it comes down to Nehemiah or Eric. Beth picks Nehemiah, so Eric will be guaranteed to go into elimination, and Eric decides that he wants to pick Nehemiah to go against. And did either of you get the Eric quote here? He has a pretty good quote here. He says, quote, Nehemiah is 80% BS and 20% show up. So tonight I'm going to call his cards and let's see if he's showing up.
I'm going to be honest, though. On the list of men that are left, he's who I'd pull too.
Who, Nehemiah?
Yeah, easily. Too. I mean, do you want to pick Evan, CT, Wes, Derek? No. You're going to pull Nehemiah's card.
This is a pretty stacked cast at this point. Because Kimmy and Johnny aren't in their peak shape at this point. And
Nehemiah's a rookie too, man. Like Nehemiah was going in.
Yeah, is Eric like a part? Is he a part of either alliance at this point, or is he just kind of?
I don't get it. Yeah, I have that in my notes too. I was like, how does Eric get left out here? Like, how is he the? Yeah, I don't really get what's going on.
Eric is not in any alliance. Eric is partying, and the main alliance likes partying with him. And as soon as they get towards the end of the season, they cut him loose. I mean, that's what happens every time he's on the show.
I think they also have too many guys.
That alliance?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a numbers thing. They don't have enough girls to pick all their guys.
I mean, it's what? Brad, Derek, Evan, and CT?
But no, because DM ended up picking Wes here. You know what I mean? So she could have easily picked Eric. So I don't really get what's going on. That's why I put it in my notes. Like, I don't get how.
I mean, quite frankly, Eric. I mean, Eric and Diem have never shown to have any type of friendship, whereas
No,
Wes
I don't
and
think they like each other, actually.
Wes and Diem, there's at least some side shows where like he and her talking at like breakfast or something. So like,
no, they're actually really good friends at this point.
I knew they were, but like from the show standpoint, you never saw Diem and Big Easy ever interact, whereas there's a couple scenes where you see Wes and Diem interact.
What? I don't even know if I want to bring this up. What girls does Big Easy have like a decent relationship with?
Besides Devin?
Katie?
No, like I mean on the show at this point.
Katie Doyle would be the only one that I would point to.
Well, I was thinking.
I don't know. It's really tough. It's really tough to tell when you like start to get into like the micro interpersonal relationships.
I mean,
because we don't get enough content,
and some of which is probably off-screen stuff too, just like showing appearances.
That's
together.
The thing people need to understand about the show too, and this is like a reality show thing. Like an episode of the challenge and the duel covers maybe a day and a half at this point, wouldn't you say? Because like they do the challenge and the elimination the same day, so you're seeing the night before the challenge and you're seeing the day of the challenge, and you got 22 minutes to cover 36 hours. Okay, so you're seeing less than 1% of what occurred. So it's really hard to judge unless the editors choose to show you. You have no idea what these relationships are.
Eric draws I can from the elimination deck. We get to elimination, and to describe briefly what I can is there's a crate that they fill up with their desired objects. In the first elimination where this occurred, it was watermelons between Tyler and Johnny, where Tyler won. Today it is just logs, and each person has to go back and forth between Nehemiah and Eric and pretty much say that they can lift a certain amount of logs, right? So Eric would say that he can lift 60, and Nehemiah would say that he can lift 61. And if it gets to a certain point where you think that the person that you're going against can't lift the amount that they said that they can do, you say, all right, go ahead and do it. And if the person who attempts to lift the crate cannot lift the crate and hold it up in the air for 5 seconds, they go home and you stay. But if they do lift it up and hold it for 5 seconds, they win. And I'm sure we talked about it last time, and I think Rob would be on the same side as me here. Anytime where you have an elimination where both people do not compete, it's a terrible elimination.
And you can include me in that. This is the worst
Who
elimination.
likes that? Whoever likes that can stop watching the show.
Yeah.
Email us if you have a compelling argument about why you enjoy that style of elimination, or if you enjoy I Can.
If you enjoy I Can and you have a serious argument, I don't want a satire argument. I want a real argument. If you have a real argument, I will Skype you in and we will talk to you, because my God, I cannot for the life of me hear a solid argument for why this is a good idea. So email us at thechallengechronicles@gmail.com. Let us know, like, here's how bad I hate I Can. I would rather rewatch Pop Culture Bike Jump than this hot garbage.
Also email us if you have if you think that you actually know what happened in Walk the Line, or no, Shirt Off My Back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We did. Wait a minute. We did figure that out, but it took us 45 minutes to do it.
That's what we think happens.
We're 90% sure that we have it. We're not 100% sure. I would not put my life on the line that we know what was supposed to happen in that challenge.
Here is my plea, and I know that they know our show exists. I want to talk to Derek Kaczynski, and I want to specifically spend 10 minutes talking about that challenge and see if even he can explain what the heck happened in that
There's
episode.
no way anybody from any of the cast members remember that mission.
No.
It was like 15 seconds long.
There were
And it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So for the people that are listening to the show that may have no idea what we're talking about with Walk the Line, this was in probably like our first.
Shirt Off My Back.
Shirt Off My Back. Excuse me.
Walk the Line.
Please watch the Johnny Cash movie. It's fun.
Oh.
It's the same challenge because they're on the balance beam. For whatever reason, I think that challenge is called Walk the Line, but it's a challenge from Inferno.
They all
2.
keep a close watch on their heart in the process. It's fine.
And it's absurd. So go back and listen to that episode.
I maintain Here's a super secret thing. So there are people that have listened to this show that are friends of ours that checked it out that don't know what the challenge is. And the friends of mine that have listened to that episode says that is the funniest thing that we have ever done. So if you're looking for a good giggle, go pull up the Inferno 2 episode of this podcast, because we spend 45 minutes losing our minds trying to talk about this episode.
Which episode is it in? Is it the first show they're talking?
It's either part 1 or part 2 of Inferno 2. I will put it in the show notes. Go back and listen to it. I actually re-listened to it again recently. That might be our finest hour as a show. Like, it really is. I might have been a little tipsy at the time, which shouldn't be that big of a shock to the rest of our listeners. But it really is hilarious to listen to us try to figure this thing out and break it down. And watch.
We're already glad handing our own show from like 6 episodes ago.
No,
it was like 6 months ago, though.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, that works out for our time.
How crazy is it that in like a month, in April, we will have been doing this for 2 years?
That makes sense.
You know what's really weird is, like, we had like such huge gaps at the beginning of the show, but like in the past 6 months, we've released more episodes in clumps than we ever have. It's really weird, but I love it. But at the same time, like, we've got a lot of really good momentum, and I'm sorry, we're going down a big rabbit trail here. But to the people who gave us the amazing iTunes reviews, seriously, thank you. It really helps us out, and it was really touching for me to read what you guys said about the show and how much you're enjoying it. So thank you guys for supporting the show. We're glad you're enjoying it. We do this because we love the challenge and love talking about it. So if you guys are getting a kick out of what we're doing, and apparently we're still huge in Sweden, so good times, all you Swedes.
Man, we're going to have people replying with like the picture of the white rabbit from the Alice in Wonderland to these podcasts at this point.
All right.
Oh, I got nothing there. Let's go to Rafty Race.
No, hold up. We got the elimination. No. We still need the elimination.
We don't need to talk about
come
that.
on. Big Easy wins.
So Big Easy wins. They go back and forth. He lifts up the logs. They get to the point where they max out the number of logs in the bidding process to where it gets to 165 logs, and they don't have any more that they can go up to. And I'd be curious.
That's actually, to me, lighter than the coconuts or the watermelons, whatever the hell it was. Was it coconuts or watermelons?
I don't know. Who
watermelons? It
was watermelons. Okay, the wood was way lighter than the watermelon because trust me.
It'd be interesting to see if Nehemiah could actually do the 165, because at that point it's just who can get up to the max amount of weight first, and then you're the one.
Knowing that a block of wood is maybe 3 pounds, I would have just, the first bid, I would have said I could do all of them. I would have just done it. I mean,
I don't even know that was a rule, though.
It just says bet what you can. I would have just come right out of the gate and said I can lift them all.
I'm not happy with the. Yeah,
That's why this challenge. This is why this elimination sucks. I'm sorry. The fact that in one bet you can just say I can do it, and you got a 50-50 chance, it's garbage.
Yeah.
After the challenge, or after the elimination, Beth and Nehemiah are shown together. They say their goodbyes. Beth is sad. DM says that the girls are now going to go after Beth, especially now that she doesn't have Nehemiah. I don't really know how much of a difference that really makes anyway. They were going after her before.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up too. What's the difference? Nehemiah's going to come like on a rampage?
Because Nehemiah was such a political mastermind in this game.
Was Nehemiah
he's actually like doing stuff?
Was Nehemiah actually Russell Hantz?
I think Nehemiah was probably shallow.
Okay, here's the thing. I think Nehemiah would be an awesome dude to hang out with in this show. It still boggles my mind that he's a challenge champion. Like, it really.
I like Nehemiah.
That's the thing, is I like the guy. I think he's probably a nice dude, and he's a dude that I would love to sit down and have a beer and a conversation with. But like, he's not at the top of my draft list at all.
I think he's fine. I don't think I think he's not like, he's not the, like, I think he's a better winner than a Rogan.
Or D. Episode 8 begins.
D's fine. D's
no,
fine.
Come on.
I would
D's
say
a way worse winner than Rogan.
No. The worst.
No, D's a worse winner than Rogan. Rogan's was political game was. We don't even talk about War of the Worlds. We talk way too much about it already.
All right. Hold on. We're having another rabbit trail because by God, I want to know this answer. Who is the flukiest winner of the challenge in history?
Katie Doyle.
It's gotta be
No,
Katie.
it's not
Katie Doyle. That's the answer.
No, it's not Katie Doyle because of the season of the challenge it was in.
Oh, it might actually be like Rachel Moyle from like Gauntlet 3.
Nope.
Who?
Sam from Battle of the Seasons 2.
Eh,
Name
Rachel
me
Moyle's
one
pretty bad.
moment in that season that she was good.
she beats Jasmine in the Hall Brawl.
Okay.
Keyword there, Jasmine.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. No.
Episode 8. The challenge begins. Or not, the challenge does not begin. The moments before the challenge. This is really where, in my notes I have this is really where they start to do like staged moments for the clue when they read the clue, because when they read the clue here, like pretty much all the cast members are like laying around in the same room on beds, and the phone goes off, and then they read the clue for the challenge. Beth confronts Brad. This is actually good. We actually get some good content before the challenge. Beth confronts Brad, and she heard that. What exactly happened here? She heard that Brad told Robin that Beth is gunning for Robin, something convoluted like that. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Beth found out that Brad told Robin that Beth is gunning for Robin, and Brad tells Svetlana and Beth that they need to get their facts straight, and kind of Brad pretty much doesn't want any drama over this, and Beth pretty much comes in there only trying to start drama, and Svetlana gets carried into this and is hurt by what's going on. She ends up going outside and calls her boyfriend and starts to cry, and Svetlana says that she doesn't have an alliance with Beth, which is
bullshit.
Like what the fuck? like it is pretty much like clearly, I don't know, maybe like we were betrayed by the editors here and they didn't, but like
They also could have just spliced that in from anywhere.
To me,
I don't know.
this is
That could be like an episode 2 confessional.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is honestly, Beth is bored, and Beth needed some
100%.
entertainment, and she
100%.
knew that drunk Brad will just go off. And so
Righteous Brad is in full effect here.
yeah, and so like this
got
was
the eyes
Beth
going.
playing puppet master of, I want to cause some drama because I'm bored. So I'm going to
How good of a
Brad's
cast member is
Brad.
Beth, by the way?
good, solid,
She's out from a producer's perspective. She's outstanding.
perfect.
I would love
She's-
to have Beth back now, even though she would be
Oh my
non-factor. She'd be a non-factor
Right.
competitively. I want Beth back just to see the shock on the people's faces who don't know who she is, and then the people that know who she is be like, shit,
She's 51.
I don't care. Bring Beth back, because the sheer
Man.
hilarity of the 2 episodes she would be on would be worth it.
We get a good interchange here between Brad and Beth, and Brad is clearly aware that he knows what Beth is trying to do, just trying to come in there and say something or like rephrase something slightly that isn't really true and may have a kernel of
It
truth.
is true. Robin clearly
And-
said she was going for Beth.
No, no, that Beth is upset that Brad supposedly told Robin. That's what it is. And Brad goes, I heard you got a broomstick and you fly around it on night. Is that true? Pretending like that
That's
actually
why
happened.
I say drunk Brad is so hysterical on the show. Like, and he says everything with complete sincerity, which is what makes it better.
Insinuating that that's similar to what Beth does, coming into the room, saying something that like may or may not be true with a straight face. And then Beth comes back with like an absolute fire quote, maybe the quote of the season. He says, he starts telling me that I fly around on a broomstick. Well, you know what, Brad? At least I have something between my legs. Mic drop.
Yes. Oh, it's
whoa.
It really is
fire.
like the mic drop moment of the season of like, well, it might not be true, but that is by far the best put down. You win, Beth.
You know what? Like while she's saying that, she's like smiling because she knows what she's about to say. You know, she like thought of that one and was like, "Oh, that's dynamite."
Yeah, and that's the
Well, she
thing.
couldn't have pre-planned that one though.
Oh, she totally pre-planned it in the confession.
How would she
Definitely.
pre-plan that?
What do you mean? She knows that they're going to ask her about it.
Yeah, they are. They
About
know
the
that.
broom?
She
No, she knows that they're going to ask about the conversation between Brad and her. She knows that they're going to ask about the drama that happened.
Okay,
and that's the thing is like, this is why a Bananas, a Beth, a Kenny, like all of them got recast as much as they did.
Georgia.
Because they knew.
No, Georgia's not the same thing.
Georgia's a great confessional. We're just talking about confessional givers.
Oh, no. But I'm talking about
I'm talking about
confessionals, okay? Like, Georgia is just funny as she is.
Yeah, she's not calculated.
Beth,
Wes or Johnny or
Bananas,
Beth
Wes, like, they all very well have been on the show and know what makes good television and knows what gets them recast to get another paycheck. And so they are aware of, oh, this happened. I'm going to keep this in the back of my mind for my confessional because I know it'll be on TV.
Like, Georgia is 100% not calculated, but like Wes is.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to take a deep breath before I describe what happens in Rafty Race.
Oh, God.
Challenge for episode 8.
This is Johnny Mosley's wet dream.
All right, so here we go. The challenge is Rafty Race. This is a gradual elimination where men and women will compete at the same time. The race starts when competitors will put on scuba fins on their feet and race down the beach to find 10 pumps, 5 for the guys and 5 for the women. There are 13 contestants at the start, so this means that 3 people will be eliminated at this checkpoint. To claim the pump as your own, or any other item throughout the race, you must pull a tag off the item, and it's kind of like a price tag. So once you pull the tag off the item, that item then belongs to you. So you can't just go to the item and start to use it. You have to pull the tag from the item to make it yours. If you do not, someone else can claim that item even after you reach it. After you claim a pump, you run to the next checkpoint to claim an inflatable raft. The first 8 people that arrive to claim a raft will move on to the next checkpoint, and 2 people will be eliminated. Contestants will then pump up the raft and swim out into the ocean with their hands to the next checkpoint where they will claim an oar. At this point, 2 more people will be eliminated. You will then use the oar that you collected to go on to the next checkpoint, and with the raft and paddles in the water, as you paddle to the next checkpoint, you will collect a key from a buoy that's out in the middle of the water that has the keys. This will eliminate 2 more people, and the final 2 people that are left, 2 for the men and 2 for the women, will race to the shore to unlock a treasure chest, remove a flag from a treasure chest, and race to the finish. The first man and woman that pass the finish line will win the challenge, and this is a female duel day. So the men actually get another pretty cool prize. There's some really good prizes this season. So the men for this challenge, if you win, get a kiteboarding kit, which actually would be pretty cool.
And that's not cheap either, by the way.
No. What do you think that is in today's dollars? Like $500? No, more, probably like $1,000, right?
I would have said $500 to $750 would have been my guess.
I just looked it up. $1,700 is the first one I heard.
What?
Yeah, do you think about it?
Do people underrate how expensive some of this
I
stuff?
saw people. I went on a run around the bay today, and there were a few people doing it.
Yeah,
one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life is I was driving through Oregon in the area where it's very desert, but there's a lot of water, like river or lakes or something. And I saw like 100 people kiteboarding at one time. It looked like so much damn fun.
Yeah, so I work at a recreational center, like a gym and pool and stuff, and I teach basketball there. So I was helping get to an event this weekend, and it was the International Mermaid Convention. So this was.
Wait a second. Hold on.
There's no chicane. This actually is what's going on. So it's a ton of people, usually mostly like middle-aged women, who buy these like $6,000 silicone mermaid tails and then like compete in events.
Where is this happening? Hold on. Where is this happening?
Manassas, Virginia, for Freedom Recreational Center.
How have I lived in Virginia and never heard of this event?
It's just started happening there. Like they used to have it other places, but now they moved here.
I would so go see that for the train wreck that it probably is.
It's real wonky. It's like these like 55-year-old women. They have like their $6,000 silicone mermaid tails they wear. They like sell. They have like all these vendors who sell mermaid themed stuff. There's like different competitions. Like there's one where they like swim through rings. There's like a synchronized dance. There's like a stripping pole competition. There's like all this stuff.
Back into the challenge. The race starts. Everyone decides to run backwards to start the first checkpoint, or to the first checkpoint. And Svetlana, Anissa, and Wes are eliminated. How did Wes get knocked off here? Like what? Like how
I don't think he was trying that much.
He just got dogged by Big Easy in a foot race? Like, what's going on here?
Maybe he's bad in flippers.
It's a women's elimination, and he didn't care.
I just don't think he's shown that if it's not for immunity or power, he doesn't really care.
See Rivals too.
Yeah. They get to the second checkpoint, and this is where the tag rule comes into play, where Derek has a raft and he's, I think, actively pumping it up, and then Big Easy comes up to it and takes the tag off and says it's mine now, because Derek forgot to pull the tag off.
Again, where was Johnny Mosley in the whistle? By the way, go to BigDubDiesel.com and buy your Johnny Rule Police t-shirt today.
And that's actually real. He's not joking. But we also get what else happens here? Oh, exactly what happens between Derek and Eric happens between Beth and Keena, and Beth comes up and takes a raft from Keena because she forgot to take her tag off. And at this point, everyone gets out into the water. Beth does well because she actually pumps her raft up and flies by people. Easy also does well. We don't need to go over the rest of this. It pretty much comes down to the fact that CT pulls ahead of Big Easy. Eric actually does very well in this. CT pulls ahead of Big Easy and wins, and then Jody pulls ahead of it was Jody and Robin at the end for the women. Yeah. Jody pulls ahead of Robin and coasts to the finish.
Yeah, significant improvement. Significant improvement for Eric from the last raft mission on Fresh Meat.
Yeah.
Oh God. No kidding. Hey, you know what? Here's a question. Does anyone really think CT ever used the kiteboardy one?
That's a good question.
I would have wagered probably it wound up on eBay is my guess.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad guess. I'm actually a fan of the flippers, by the way. I'd like to see those brought back in.
We get into the selection. Robin tells Brad. Well, it comes down to, who is it? Brad's the last person to. Oh no, what it is they get into the selection, and partway through the selection, Robin tells Brad to pick Beth in the selection because they don't want Beth to be left until the end, because Robin knows that if Beth makes it to the end, Beth will then take Robin into elimination, and they don't want that to happen. So it comes down to Big Easy having to decide between Anissa and who else? Svetlana to go into elimination. And Anissa, or Big Easy picks. He
picks Anissa, and Svetlana goes in.
Svetlana goes in, and then Svetlana decides to go in against, out of nowhere. This is so random.
This is so weird.
So out of nowhere, after we were like visually shown that Svetlana and Beth have an alliance with each other, Svetlana decides that she wants to go in against Beth, not only someone that she is, we were told, in an alliance with, but the strongest female competitor on the show in most missions, and some she's not, but overall that's probably the person that the women are most afraid to go in against into elimination. She decides to go against her. And
I think I'd rather go in against Beth than Jody.
In elimination?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Do you think all right, so who do you think's gonna win? Who do you think's gonna win? Pole dance, Beth or Jody?
Well, Beth probably wins pole wrestle.
All right, who do you think's gonna win?
I'm sorry, no.
Who do you think? I think Beth's gonna win that too. Let's get through this real quick. So who do you think's gonna win? Push me over?
Push me
Beth.
over?
Yeah, I would have gone Beth.
It's probably gonna be Beth, right? So who do you think is gonna win? Beth or Jody?
Jody.
I mean, that one's just such a draw. Maybe Jody.
No, I don't think so. Beth's going to win that. She's stronger than Jody. And then who do you think, or at least I think so, and then who do you think is going to win Ascender? Probably Jody.
I want Jody wins Ascender.
So I think...
I don't know. No. To me, Ascender is who can put the puzzle together. Because even if you're a minute behind climbing, if the person is a terrible puzzle person, which Jody doesn't exactly strike me as a great puzzle person, at least the way she's...
pretty easy tangram.
Yeah. I would put my money on the smarter person, and I think...
So I think...
Like Nehemiah, I think it's pretty even. They're pretty evenly weighted. Like Nehemiah torches Kenny on the getting the puzzle when they go against each other.
So I think that 3 out of the 4, for me personally, I think she's able to beat Jody. So that for me, that's why it's so shocking that Svetlana decides to go against.
It definitely is shocking.
If I'm Svetlana, even though she is near and dear to my heart, I'm picking Kina based on size. Because 3 of the 4 are based on strength.
Exactly. And that's what we get here when Svetlana draws the card and it's Push Me, an elimination that we haven't seen yet. And Beth just smiles because it's Push Me, and it sounds like their size will come into play. And Beth is
infinitely bigger than Svetlana. Not like in a bad way. It's just like Beth looks bigger. Like she is stronger, and Svetlana looks like a stick.
Like how tall do you think Beth is?
That's a good question. Well, she looks like she's like about as tall as, maybe a little bit shorter than Wes, right?
I don't know.
I mean, this challenge like comes down to weight.
She's not short. Let's put it like that.
Push. I mean,
she's
really,
not short for the challenge, at least. Like that's the thing people always seem to overlook with the challenge. Most of these guys are pretty short.
I think we talked about this last time.
Talked about this last
we talked about this a lot, but like I don't think she's that tall, but she's taller than most of the challenge people, at least.
Yeah, and in a situation like this, it's like, hey, Beth is definitely, just by looking at her, stronger than Svetlana. There's only one game of the 4 where I would want to go against Beth if I'm Svetlana, and that's Ascender. I mean, and even that's a crapshoot because of the puzzle. So every other thing, it's like, Beth is stronger. Push me, or whatever it's called. Beth is going to be stronger. Pole wrestle, definitely don't want to do pole wrestle against Beth if I'm Svetlana. So like, it's a weird choice.
So we find out what Push Me is. Go ahead.
Sorry. What does Beth do now as like her job?
I think she like works in production in Los Angeles, or at least I know she had a kid at some point, but I remember vividly there was a season of the challenge, and I think Mark Long was on it, and it was one of the early ones. It might have even been the very first one, or it was one of the ones after that. And they went and visited Beth in LA, and she was working for a production company. Okay. So my hunch would be she's still working in production somewhere in LA, if she's still working.
Well, so I just looked up Beth Solarchik height, and I couldn't find anything, but I found her her listed net worth, and it is definitely wrong. It was listed at $64 million.
Yeah, it might be a little off. All right, that gets us into the elimination for episode. What episode are we on? 8. Episode 8, called Push Me. And this is the last elimination that we have not seen. And there's a bar suspended parallel to the ground about 3 feet high that branches out from a pivot point in the ground that is centered in the middle of the bar. Contestants will stand at opposite ends of the bar and, pushing in the same direction, try to retrieve a flag a few feet in front of them. And because the bar is on a pivot point, as you try and push forward against the bar, it will force your opponent to move backwards. So this is really you pushing against your opponent to try and retrieve the flag. Once you get to the flag, everyone pay attention here. You must unclip the flag, because this is about to come up multiple times from now until the end of the season. Unclip the flag from the carabiner and not rip the flag off the carabiner. If you rip the flag off, you will automatically be DQ'd. The first person to retrieve their flag wins unless you rip the flag off the carabiner. And let's just get to it right now. Well, now I'll do a brief preface. So this actually lasts quite a bit of time. It lasts 30 minutes. It's a complete stalemate until Svetlana pretty much can't last any longer. Beth goes up to retrieve the flag, and as she's retrieving the flag, Svetlana is still kind of just like bumping up against the bar, and as she's trying to unclip the flag from the carabiner, it rips off of the carabiner, and she is automatically DQ'd. And so the analogy that I thought of throughout the course of the day as I reflected back on this moment and the moment that will happen between Brad and CT later on in the season, is that this is the equivalent of when the NFL had the most complex rule imaginable for what constitutes a catch, right? And it gets to the point where you're not actually measuring someone's inherent skill. You're not measuring the skill that you want to reward someone for, right? So here you want to reward someone based off of their actual physical strength. That's like the predominant part of this challenge. And what you end up rewarding someone for is their ability to unclip a flag from a carabiner. And I don't think that that's what you want to promote on the show.
How is Svetlana able to hang around so long?
I don't know. It's a good question. She does a really good job here. I don't really know. And
is it just Beth isn't using her legs enough, or what do you think?
I think Beth was just trying to tire Svetlana out.
Yeah.
Svetlana was trying to do the work.
And that's the smart way to do this too. That's the really smart way to do this. And we see people, and I don't know if Beth intentionally did this.
It's in the Gauntlet 3. Exactly.
This is when Frank goes against. Who does Frank go against?
He goes against MJ.
Yep.
He goes against MJ, who everyone pretty much the consensus would be that him. Exactly. And what you want to do in these is you pretty much want to just position yourself in the sand, get somewhere where you can be comfortable, and just wait. And wait until the other person is dog-tired, and then that's when you go against them.
I think when you're this much bigger, though, I'd almost rather if you can just push them out of the way. Maybe she can't, and that's what it is.
I mean,
but
that's
if you
the
can
thing,
just
though.
Move them. I think you just move them.
But you don't want to tire yourself out to where you put yourself in a bad situation. That's the thing. Like, Beth waited until Svetlana was tired 10 minutes in before she made her move, and that was the smart thing to do.
Well, I think if you wait that long, but you're just leaving so much chance for something weird to happen.
And I have found Beth on LinkedIn. She is still a producer in LA.
I would assume net worth not $64 million.
Definitely not 64 million, but she's still working and doing stuff. So like she is apparently still successful in what she does. And I mean, there's so many shows and web series now. Like you can make a solid living producing if you have the right connections and do the right stuff.
Yeah, 64 million is a lot of money. The thing is, like, you can get like a few breaks that go your way, and you can get like a couple $1 million. $64 million is a ton of fucking money.
Dude, 64 million. Like most professional athletes, like most first round picks in the NBA, make nowhere close to $64 million.
And they're in the lifetime of their careers.
Yeah, in the lifetime of their careers.
Wes talks about after the elimination, he talks about how he lost 2 members of Alliance in back-to-back rounds. And that's pretty much all that we get before we go into episode 9. Before the challenge in episode 9, Wes tells DM that he thinks that he's going into the next duel. They talk about how, speaking of life-changing amounts of money, or how much people, what constitutes a lot of money, Wes talks about how $150,000 is life-changing money. And I think that's a quote that he says. And about how
I think it probably is for these guys.
I don't think so, dude. $150,000. What year is this?
2006. And like we said, dude, we got a lot of Chico State education here, so I don't know what their prospects are.
Evan put the challenge in the best perspective on one of the old Derek podcasts. He said the challenge in this era is a good month because the challenge at this point lasted about 4 weeks. And so if you can make $150,000, that basically sets your year. And then whatever you do the rest of the year is what you live on. And so the challenge season is not life-changing, but it will make your year to propel you to whatever you want to do next.
That's a good point.
150K is a lot of money to these guys.
I mean, Wes used it to buy the yogurt shop, which eventually led to him starting his own Beta Blocks thing. So, like, if you're smart with it, you can do something with it. But I'm not exactly thinking that a lot of the people that won this money did smart things with it.
So after taxes, because this is taxed like a game show, this probably comes out to like $100,000.
I was about to say you get 60% of what you won.
After let's say, like 85.
Let's say it's $100,000, right? So $100,000 in a year. Like, I mean, Rob, this is something that that is something that's like easily attainable, right? To make in like a salary, very easily attainable. And yeah, I don't know. Like
it's kind of like if I was
if you could double your year's salary for a year, just like snap your fingers and double it for a year, that's still like a lot of extra money.
I mean, that's the thing. Nice. Is that's the way I think about it, is the fact that, like, hey, if I was offered to go on the challenge, and I won't be, so let's pretend I would be in some random universe.
I've got faith, Trace.
I would, unless they do a fan season, that I have zero chance, especially at age. I'm about to turn 36 here in a month, so there ain't no way I'm getting on the show.
When they bring Beth back on, you guys can be a pair on like a fan.
Oh no, please! I would rather be with Anissa. No.
I feel like I saw a commercial a while ago, or during War of the Worlds 2, the most recent season of the challenge. There was a post that they made for a casting call in the middle of the show.
No, you had to go. You had to go to the Spartan race and interview, and then you had to finish enough at the Spartan race to get considered. So, I really do think that there will be a fan on the show, but it will be one person who's in really good shape.
No, it'll be like a quote unquote influencer. They won't couch them as a fan.
CrossFit dad bod Trace ain't getting on the show. I'm in good shape, but I am not going to be the type of person they cast, period, unless they specifically do a Champs All-Stars, but it's Champs versus fans type deal. But let's pretend for a second I would get cast. Let's say my show up fee is $10,000. After taxes.
Oh, you get more than $10,000, man.
To just show up as a nobody, I would be shocked if I got more than $10,000.
No, but they make so much money just to show up nowadays. Anybody.
But I'm a nobody. We have.
What do you think the minimum is? What's the minimum?
I think the minimum is 25 now.
I would have said that if I am if I'm Big T, I'm getting paid $25,000 to show up.
I don't think she's getting more than 25.
Well, either way, I would take a sabbatical from work because I can take up to 2 months off with no pay, with no repercussions at my job. If I was cast like that, my show up money would cover my bills while I'm gone and take care of my family. So I would go, and even if I got, because you get a nominal fee for every episode you're in of $1,500. And so between the show up money, the nominal fee, and if somehow I make it to a final and I get some money, that money is going to pay off something of my debt or my house or put a college fund for my daughter. To me, it would be worthwhile to go on the show, even if I'm gone week 3, just from I would make more money in 3 weeks than I would in my 3 weeks at my current job. And I make somewhat decent money. So it's worth it, which is why we joke about Mark Long a lot. It's he says he won't come back, but it's the amount of money Mark Long would get to show up, and the fact is he'd probably make the final because of his political.
Well, he'd at least make a bunch of deals that would get him some money from the final.
Yeah, he's gonna make enough money that it's worth him taking 2 months of non-paid time off to do the show.
He'd have a slice of Rogan and CT's paycheck if he did the past season.
Of course he would. And if he's working with Bananas and Bananas somehow makes it to the end, they already cut a couple deals in the past. So,
I really think that's the main reason they don't want to have him on.
So, all right. So why do you think why do you think if he would do it now, other people don't currently do it now?
What do you mean?
So you say that Mark Long would come on right now and cut deals with people, and that's why they don't want him on the show. So if you think that he would come on and do that,
other people are cutting deals.
You think they are?
I totally think they are.
They just aren't.
Well, then why would they care if he came on and did that then? If other people do it
about it, he's super blatant about it.
Oh yeah, I would say he's blatant, and in terms of they would have to. I mean, I know Bear is really expensive, but Bear actually probably brings them enough viewers that it's worth the $100,000 they pay him to show up. But is Mark Long worth the $100,000 to show up? And I would say no.
I don't think he would be further in terms of just actually adding money for what they bring in from the show.
I think he's worth maybe $25,000 to show up, and that's just because
he's worth more than 25, but he's not worth 100.
He's not worth 100, so it's kind of if I'm Buna Murray, I look at the money and I would say, okay, I could pay Mark Long $100,000, or I'm going to pay Bear $100,000. I'm going to pay Bear.
Think about it. Someone like Jordan is probably cheaper than Mark Long.
Of course he is. And here's the other thing, too. The last season Mark Long did with Battle of the X's, I mean, he had some good confessional moments, and he had, 1 or 2 good challenges. but the majority of that season was built around Bananas and CT. And then the Paula Ty romance. Like, that was the show that season.
Battle of the Exes was a low-key bad season.
And so, I liked the season. I actually really loved the season. But
I don't think there's anything going on that season.
You could have swapped Mark and Robin for several other teams, and it doesn't change the outcome of that show.
Before the challenge in episode 9, we get the conversation between Wes and DM, life-changing money. Jody tells Derek that she wants to see him win. This means Derek is going home. We also find out that it's DM's birthday. And that's about all that happens before we get to the challenge. And the challenge for today is called Pole Dance. And there are 2 phases to this challenge. In the first phase, contestants will be divided into 2 teams. At the sound of a horn, each team will race to retrieve a flag that's on top of, I would say, a 15 to 20 feet pole. The top of a 20-foot wooden pole. To make it more difficult, the pole has been greased up with what looks like, I don't know if it's Crisco or lard. It looks like it's pretty difficult, but the winning team will then move on to the second phase, and the second phase is a race through the sand dunes, the setting of this challenge. And at the final part of the race, there is a large steep hill that they have to run up, and the hill is kind of covered with this like blue mat that's almost like a slip and slide.
Yeah, it's like a tarp.
Probably exactly what it is, but it's essentially just tries to make it more difficult for them to run up the side of the hill. And the first male and female that finish that phase of the challenge will win the challenge for that day. And today is a male duel day. Correct me if I'm wrong. It is a male duel day. And CT and Easy are the captains. And I don't even really know if there's anything to say about phase 1.
It's just, so it's CT, West, and Evan are on one team. DM, Svetlana, and Robin are also on that team with CT, and that's the team that wins.
Yep. We get to the second part, the race, and DM is behind to start. She ends up pulling ahead. We get some comments from people that she's a good endurance runner, and she is able to win the challenge on her birthday. And the race between the men is Wes, Evan, and CT. And they're all around the same point when they get to the blue mat, when they have to finish and run up the side of the hill. And Evan ends up winning. And that's about it. I don't know. This wasn't like an incredible challenge, but it was still like somewhat compelling to watch. It's not like some of the challenges it's not like some of the challenges in previous seasons where they're absolute duds. At least at this point, we have like good competitors competing directly against each other.
Yeah, there's no time trials, which I'm a big fan of. Everybody's competing at once. They have to do a variety of tasks.
And that's the thing too, is like we've talked about how stacked this cast is, but like these final competitors that we're at right now, aside, I mean, Big Easy's not exactly a pushover because of his size, but the rest of the men are Evan, Wes, Derek, and Brad. I mean,
and they're all pretty much at their peak too, you would say.
Yep. Yeah. And on the women's side, you've got Jody, Svetlana, Keena, Robin. Like, from this era of the challenge, that's also pretty stacked. So, like, this is a pretty, like, competitive thing, even if the challenge is kind of lame at times.
Who's the second best female competitor on this cast? Like, I would say Jody's kind of clearly number one.
Svetlana or DM?
I would have said...
It's funny because each are so specialized, right? Like, Svetlana and DM are so much more like the smaller runner types. And, like, Anissa or Beth would be hard to beat in any elimination, but you definitely wouldn't want them for a final.
Yeah,
then, like,
I would have...
Keena and Robin would fit somewhere in between.
Yeah, they're in the middle, for sure.
It might be Beth and Jody. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you, Rob.
We never saw Beth run a final, so like it's hard to really say.
Yeah, I don't know.
We also don't have to do many like utility type tasks. Like it's all pretty simple stuff.
The one thing I will say about this challenge is, as we kind of fast forward towards the end of it, when it's Evan, Wes, and CT in the final piece of it, this challenge was pretty physically exerting because all three of them were pretty.
Oh, they're dying.
I mean, they were hurting. Like, I'm watching it as we're speaking right now, and they are sucking wind and stopping, trying to get up the hill. And I mean, it's really something to see Evan find that extra gear and dig his toes in and get up the top of this sand dune. Like, it's impressive to watch.
Which makes it even crazier because this is on the same day as the duel. So I think Wes does this huge run and then competes against Derek in the pole wrestle.
That's crazy.
Like, and Brad even mentions it while they're running, like, hey, good thing we can actually keep our fuel in case we end up having to go in.
Yeah, Wes, like, it's amazing. Like, after the women are still trying to go, and DM almost got up there and then slides back down, and you see Wes in the background just walking off, and he just looks dead on his feet.
He just kind of, like, sits on the side, yeah.
It's pretty unreal to see how tired they all are.
We get to the selection process, and the last few women that are left are Anissa, Robin, and Svetlana. And Wes tells them at a certain point to not worry about picking between him and who's the second to last male left?
It's Brad.
Tells them not to worry about picking between Wes and Brad and just to vote him anyway. Go ahead.
Well, just going to say, I think Easy was around 2 when they were talking about that.
No. It was between Brad and Wes at that point. Easy had already been picked. The last two were Wes and Brad.
And so Wes is guaranteed to go into elimination. He decides that he wants to go against Derek. TJ comes over with the elimination cards, and Wes draws pole wrestle. And this is...
Here we go.
Easily top 5 best eliminations in the show's history.
If it is not the best, it is easily top 3.
Yeah, I was going to say
this at number 1 for a while.
I would have said
like this is
the number 1 elimination in the history of the show.
So
I don't know. I think the one between Joss and Derek is better. That one's just
different to me.
I disagree. Yeah, that one's so edited to crap that it's really hard.
He comes in as a mercenary, so he's not actually in the game. Like, this one is awesome too because it's so relevant to the game. Like, Wes ends up winning the season after this.
Yeah. So I think this is another one of, like, personally one that I love is Johnny. Even with if you watch it without the knowledge of what actually happened, Johnny and Tyler versus CT and Adam.
Oh, that one's awesome too. It's just
that one is an amazing elimination, but Adam threw it. So
it's just Adam.
We don't know that. But
I am so confident he threw it.
Why? Where did we get? So, like, the only reason that I now think that is because of how confident Rob is about this, and I don't know if I've ever asked Rob where he actually heard this.
So there's multiple reasons. It wouldn't just be one thing for me to be that confident. So CT mentions explicitly on multiple podcasts that not after me, but multiple podcasts after that he believes really strongly Adam threw it. Mm-hmm. Evan has mentioned cutting deals with Adam in the past on multiple podcasts, and you would imagine that Johnny and Kenny would be involved in a deal cut with Adam as well.
And Adam was like there's a story of Evan, Kenny, and Johnny and Adam having a hotel room together and them charging like $2,000 worth of room service to a car
I've heard that
Adam's on. And it's like Adam wants to be the cool kid so bad.
All right, so
he would do anything to be the cool kid.
There's
none of this is coming up to snuff so far. Do we have any?
Also on the reunion of the season, do you have the reunion of that season, Trace?
I do.
Okay, there's a clip where CT mentions Adam not throwing a deal, and Johnny makes a face clearly indicating he threw a deal. Like, it's just like I can't describe it, but like,
watching Adam at the end of the thing where like they're both on the final ball and Adam is somehow all of a sudden
diving into the ground,
and CT is literally with one hand hauling him up the hill. It's like, yeah, I ain't buying that Adam's trying that hard.
The part where CT goes in there and pretty much like blows them up is incredible. Oh my God!
Before the elimination too, him hyping Adam up is pretty crazy.
Oh my God! It's so cool.
That's why I say this one is number 1, that one is number 2,
and then And then at the end of the challenge too, when Tyler and Johnny are like on the ground and everyone comes like racing over to congratulate them, and the music that they're playing in the background, it's a good one.
Laurel Ninja might actually have to be up there too now, by the way.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Dude, come on.
No. The shenanigans of that elimination are
That's part of
astounding.
it.
That's all part of it, man.
Competitiveness of that is that.
Yeah, the competitiveness was really good.
I will
too.
say,
Really
though,
close.
Laurel's Suck It is probably the best Suck It in the history of reality TV. Like, it is
Dude,
hysterical.
for her to do the crotch grab and then to have her victory overruled, that's so top tier.
Yeah, dude. That's all right. So the
I think that might be number
rivals
two after this one.
Rivals in no particular order. And at some point, I'm sure we'll do a podcast.
There will be
on
a top 6 episode where we talk about top 6 at some point.
So Rivals 1, Laurel versus Ninja, Wes versus Derek. What's another one that's just like clear cut? Like this is there.
Well, you said Derek versus Josh. You think it's up there?
I think so. I think it has to be.
I think it's overrated.
Well,
I think
if that one's up there, then Johnny versus Tyler with CT coming in probably has to be up there too. Then
yeah,
I agree.
If you include that, the backpack moment really is iconic. I mean, it's
for the longest time that was like one of the biggest moments in the show's history. It still is.
Oh yeah, no, it's still.
No one at that point thought CT would ever be on the show again after he tried to murder Adam. Like the cast basically revolted when he got cast again and said, "No, we're not coming if CT's there." So no one actually thought he would be on the show again. And so when he showed up, and it was also the first time they ever did Mercenaries. So there's a lot of craziness in that elimination.
Do you think then Kendall, like this is definitely another shenanigans elimination, but Kendall Leah on the Inferno?
Oh, I love that elimination. Oh, it's so good.
That's probably in the top 10. That's not one that like.
It's not competitive. It's entertaining.
It's not one that you like hear and you're like, yeah, it's in.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy, man. I have the Miz screaming. You've got David turning you to the Inferno naked. Like, there's so much going on.
I have one more that I think both of you are going to say, yeah, that's probably in. Guess.
There's one more I was going to mention. It was Jordan and Marlon versus Ty and Leroy.
I was going to say the Rachel elimination.
That one's pretty awesome.
No, I was going to say, so the one that I was going to say is Brad versus Landon in Duel 2.
That's another chicanery one, though.
Yeah, but that's part of it. You know what I mean? That adds to that's part of the element.
The fact that Brad
one's not as clear cut as much as the other ones to me, but I agree it's up there. There's so many good eliminations.
So I think those 5, the 5 that we pretty much rattled off immediately, like those are in the Hall of Fame.
So the 2 mercenary ones, and then Laurel Ninja, this one, and CT Adam, Johnny Tyler.
Here's a wild card that I think's an underrated one.
Oh God.
CJ versus Zach from Battle of the Seasons 2 with Hall Brawl. Like
the issue with that one is you also have Sam and Jasmine involved there, and theirs is just so non-competitive, and you can't have one without. Well, yeah, but you can't have one without the other there, though.
CJ, that's why it's not a top 3, but just the CJ versus Zach of that was phenomenal. Like it really
bring that one up a lot, but that one's more like a B+, A- to me than an absolute A+, like these ones.
Yeah, now we're drifting towards ones that are like really good.
Like this one, this one I think for me is the best one because I don't think there's many bones you can pick with this one.
Yeah, and I think for all of the ones in the top 5, like I don't know, you may be I don't know, like I don't know if
the
this
2 mercenary ones you can point out the mercenary chicanery that you don't like.
I don't really care about that though. It's still a good elimination.
For me, I did lessen it a little bit.
I will sum this up the best way that I can for this. This is the best one-on-one elimination with no shenanigans involved. It's just one-on-one banging, and best man wins.
Yeah, so I wonder how long this goes on in real time.
Well, it's 8 minutes of a 21-minute episode.
Yeah, so I mean, I wonder how much.
This is over a third of the episode.
Yeah, and so also I wanted to make sure that I pointed this out. Does anyone notice what Derek is wearing?
It's 18 minutes and change. 18:29 is the time of the total elimination.
So
what's he wearing? Let's see.
Either of you.
I guess the bandana. Was there something weird about the bandana?
He's wearing Mark Long's bandana.
I think it might be the Mark Long bandana.
It is the Mark Long
that would
bandana.
be crazy.
The Mark Long.
It's the red Mark Long bandana.
And I'm
looking at it right now.
He's wearing dog tags too, which I think is weird.
Didn't he? No, I was going to say, didn't he do like an elimination in like Jinko jeans once? But I think he took them off before the elimination actually happened.
He did.
I thought Cyrus did. Wasn't Cyrus wearing some wacky outfit in elimination?
Dude, you know that you're in the early stages of the challenge when people are still doing daily missions in jeans.
Or when, you got Katie smoking cigs in elimination.
Oh yeah.
Is that an all-time challenge elimination too?
No, but I mean, then if you want to include that, then you have to include Shane versus CT drinking milk and eating cookies on a merry-go-round.
I think the cig is better.
The end of the first Inferno is really good.
Yeah,
I remember
its moments.
It has its moments.
I don't think the overall flow of the Inferno is as good as the top few moments you can pick out.
That was the conclusion we came to, is like we went into the season like, yes, this is the first good season, because we had just watched Seasons and Battle of the Sexes 1, and then we got done with it and we're like, I went in thinking it was an A and it was really more of a B.
Did we give grades for Fresh Meat, or did you just forget that?
No, I think we gave. Well, I mean, we also gave our overall season rankings, but I think
we didn't do the letter grade on Fresh Meat, but every other season we've done letter grades.
Quickly, everyone, letter grade on Fresh Meat. Robert,
we're all over the place here. I had it as like a B minus B.
I had this as a B as well.
I'll go B too to match it. All right, so back to the elimination. This is, I think we've all pretty much suggested as much. This is one of the most hard-fought eliminations in the show's history, and Wes pretty much abruptly wins. And after he wins, both of them lay down in the middle of this duel circle and just pretty much are ready to pass out.
That's an all-time challenge shot too, of the two of them like staring up at the sky.
They're both just
the emotion of both of them after it was over. It was like we both gave everything we had, and then Wes calls Johanna and is crying on the phone because of how emotional the whole thing was.
Yeah, it's funny too.
Crazy.
Well, we just talk so much about how great the eliminations, but there's really not much you can like cover on it. You just have to watch it.
Yeah, and this is easily findable if you Google it. If you Google Wes versus Derek the duel, you will find several videos of this. So I think
the challenge YouTube posted it recently.
If you are a fan of the challenge and you have never seen this elimination, and even if you have seen it, go back and watch it again. It is that good. And
I watch it semi-frequently.
The aftermath is also that good. Like literally watch from the start of the elimination to the end of the episode. It is phenomenal.
I would say there's two YouTube videos that I watch the most often. It might be this one, and then this is going to sound so weird. So there's a video of a 73-year-old woman who was hiking in Arizona, and she gets injured and has to be like medevaced by a helicopter. Have you guys seen this video?
No.
I'm still stuck on the mermaid thing from a while ago, so I'll let you keep going.
Well, so she gets medevaced by this helicopter, and it's like she's in like one of those red sleeping bag looking arrangements where they have a helicopter that's holding it down from the bottom. But there was some malfunction, so the sleeping bag starts to spin, and it gets like faster and faster, and eventually it's going like 170 miles per hour. Like the one that she's been like that for like a good 6 minutes.
The one that I probably watched the most is the Leonard Fournette highlight reel from when he was at LSU. Is absolutely insane. Oh my God, dude. I'll send it to you after this. So like there are like good highlight videos, and then there's this one. Like it's just like a clear cut of, so there are two all-time great ones. There is the Leonard Fournette one, and then there is also another one that I'm sure is near and dear, close to Trace's heart. The Peter Warwick highlight video is absolutely absurd too.
Yeah, when you go back and watch Peter Warwick at Florida State, it really was astounding how good this kid was. I mean, there was no one in his class, and this dude played against Michael Vick in a national championship game. I mean, it was something. I heard them talk about it on the PFF podcast, but he was really ahead of his time.
like people at that time didn't really like know what to do with him, and he would fit much better in today's modern NFL than he did at that point in time.
Well, he also got injury prone, and he was on the Cincinnati Bengals when they were really shitty, which isn't all that different from today. But I mean, they were really bad at that point, and they had really bad quarterbacks. And so, like, in the NFL, he was a nobody because he had nobody quarterbacks, and they didn't know what to do with him.
Also, really quickly, the Hakeem Olajuwon faking out David Robinson clips are pretty awesome, too. And,
this betrays my age a lot here because I was, in college when there was no YouTube. So we're talking like 03, 04. If you were to actually...
YouTube in college, man.
Well, YouTube showed up when I was in college, but I remember watching internet videos when E-Bombs World was the best viral video site on the internet. And the grape smashing wine thing where like the reporter falls and starts moaning, I probably saw that clip 8,000 times the first 2 or 3 years on the internet when it was available. Like it was, that's...
How much advertising money lifetime do you think the Whistle Tips video has made Google?
Oh God. You know what I would actually say is the video that has made the most money for anyone in the history of the internet is the Rickroll video.
Yeah.
Probably. Whistle Tips is actually, I don't know if many people in my generation know about Whistle Tips.
Yeah, that's an old school one. That's Devin is literally like halfway between me and Rob. So yeah, he's in a more sweet spot. If you were to add up cumulative, I guarantee you that Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up video on YouTube has by far been the most monetized thing in the history of the internet. That's not like a giant conglomerate.
So I just looked up what the most watched video of all time on YouTube is, and it's Despacio by Louis, I can't even pronounce that name. Louis Fonzi.
Oh, that's Despacito. Despacito,
God,
dude.
Devin, wow.
God. Wow.
Despacio.
I don't know what the fuck this is.
Okay, how the hell did the old guy in the room know what Despacito was and you didn't? That's
my grandmother, who is like 71, plays that song all the time.
So that doesn't necessarily mean that this made the most money, though. Because
that's definitely fair.
Because
6.6 billion views, though, that's a lot.
This is actually my area of expertise, where you can have not all views are created equal. So it's possible that there was another video that had a higher ad rate than this specific video. Like there are like websites that exist that don't have like a ton of views but still make a ton of money because they are specifically centered around like pharmaceuticals or like prescription drugs. And the ads that are placed on those websites from ad networks are at a much higher rate than like ads that you would see on, I don't know, like...
I mean, this is way deep in the weeds
else.
here, but this is how, like, you could arguably say Rolex is the best advertised company in the world because they have a very expensive product that is only advertised in golf, the U.S. Open for tennis, and F1 because the salary of the people that watch those events is astronomically higher than any other sport in the world because as popular as the NFL is in America, you have to take into account the fact that golf, tennis, and F1 are way more popular worldwide. So, like, you could argue that Rolex has the best advertising of any product in sports.
All right, back on the rails. Derek, after the elimination, says, and I've had moments like this that Derek has at this point, he's going home, didn't win again, and he didn't even make it close to the end this time, and he pretty much says that he needs to reevaluate what he's going to do with his life. And Rob, one of you mentioned it earlier, but Wes is shown on the phone talking to Johanna, crying, and is pretty much just like physically and emotionally depleted from what he just went through, as was Derek, which starts episode 10. And
this
before
is a
that,
weird start to this episode.
This is a weird start. You gotta get your club scenes in somewhere.
There's nothing like drunken racism in one bucket that just makes for a weird thing. Like, it's just not a good look on anybody.
This is really bad.
Everyone is at the club. They start to build the narrative of how drunk Robin was that night when they were at the club. And everyone is back at the house after they went to the club. And Robin drops the bomb, speaking to Anissa, and says, "Anissa, you confuse the fuck out of me. Anissa, if you're gay, lesbian, straight, black, white, Puerto Rican, Portuguese, pick something." And
we have to put an advisory before that one, honestly. Dude. Really bad.
I don't think it's an advisory. I think it's just like, this is where Robin's character went over the edge to batshit insane, and she stays batshit insane for the rest of her challenge career.
Yeah, this is what we mentioned.
They do a good job of portraying this too. I don't think they do a good job at all in this scene, actually.
I think they do. I think they do pretty good. What do you have objection to?
I think they don't do I just don't think they address the issue appropriately.
I think they do, because pretty much everyone universally speaks out against Robin. So
I guess,
Brad does.
That's true.
Brad does, and says, even though he goes back on what he says later on, he says that he pretty much has nothing to do with her, wants nothing to do with her. And this is someone that they were on the same original Real World season in San Diego. And then Anissa and CT, who was it?
Says something
it's
too.
Evan and
Keena has a long confessional.
Yeah, Keena has a very long confessional where she's says that she's completely mortified, and this is immediately after Robin saying this, where she's completely mortified by what Anissa just said. And then DM and Evan go up to Anissa and console her after this and let Anissa speak and talk about how she actually feels. And they spend the entire time before the challenge talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
I guess now looking back, it's not as bad. One thing too to point out is all of the people who are going speaking out against Robin in the situation are people who were traditionally aligned with her too.
Correct too. That's a very good point.
Because it's Keena and it's Robin and it's Brad and
it's Evan. Evan is. Evan and Anissa, to my knowledge, have never had any other on-screen interaction other than this moment of him comforting her. I've never, that I can remember, thought about him comforting her, and then even Bug-Eye Brad, because Brad goes Bug-Eye here, ranting about
Bug-Eye.
her.
Yeah,
this is peak Bug-Eye drunk Brad.
This is righteous
while
Brad,
he's holding his crotch,
one.
by the way, which is also pretty hysterical while he's ranting.
So the next day, Anissa goes to confront Robin while she's still in bed, hungover from the night before, because I'm sure she was probably blacked out when this happened, or close to it, or probably browned out. But Anissa talks to her, and Robin makes the interesting choice of not immediately saying that she's sorry and that she was drunk and that she
just kind of in the blanket, so she doesn't even come out.
Yeah, well, she doesn't immediately apologize, which is what she should have done, right? She should immediately have said, "I screwed up. That was terrible of me to say. I feel completely awful for what I did to you." And instead, she almost tries to defend herself a little bit.
Oh, she tried to justify it,
and it was what are you doing?
Yeah, it's not a good look at all. This is a real bad. It's honestly bordering on Camilla from Dirty 30. It's really bad.
It is bad. It's bad.
I'm glad though that they do give time for Anissa to talk about how she actually feels and why this is a difficult subject for her. Yeah. And she talks about how no one knows what it's like to walk in her shoes and be who she is, and how that she's even uncertain with who she is at certain points. And I think this is probably the best that they could have done with a not great situation.
Yeah, I guess looking back on it, it wasn't as bad. I think they actually do a decent job looking back at it now.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I've made jokes about her being the cockroach of the challenge just from that standpoint of the way she plays the game and how she does. But from a personal standpoint, watching this again, it's it really kind of is a gut check of her as a person of hearing her there are very few authentic moments in reality TV. Okay. A lot of stuff is very, I wouldn't say manufactured, but it's manipulated in some way.
Well, it's all edited down.
Exactly. And so like the Wes reaction after the Derek elimination is super authentic. And Anissa's reaction to this whole situation is extremely authentic, extremely real, and extremely raw. And so like from a standpoint of the show showing the conflict and showing the lack of remorse from Robin, and then showing Anissa kind of open up about who she is a little bit and admit her vulnerability, like it's honestly a really cool moment. And so I really appreciate everything that kind of happened here. So I'll stop.
It's funny because there is kind of a turn here, though, just in general in the tone of the show, because it was pretty campy up until the midpoint, you would say. Like if you like the Rafty run and stuff. But at this point from here on out, I'd actually say it's pretty like emotionally intense. I mean, you got one wonky mission coming up here, but after that.
Yeah, the rest of the show from this point forward is pretty emotional because you have the first like CTDM kiss, like you have all kinds of game stuff happen. So like this really, I think you're right, Rob. This really was kind of the turning point of the season where it went from fun and campy to like pretty real from this point forward.
That starts the challenge for episode 10 called Dine and Dash. Diem and Svetlana are the captains because Svetlana won the last duel for the women, and Diem won the last challenge for the women. And they have a draft. Wes ends up sitting out the challenge because he was not picked. And this challenge will take place in 2 phases. Phase 1, each player will be individually weighed, and the combined weight for each team will be added up. Teams will then have 20 minutes to eat as much food as possible of hamburgers, ribs, fries, you name it.
Beans, you name the shit.
Soups,
they ate it.
Like
At the end of 20 minutes, the team that has gained the most weight will then move on to phase 2. And phase 2 pretty much consists of wind sprints where each player will run to a series of 10 poles, grab a flag off the pole, run back to the start line, and deposit the flag in the pole. And this is pretty much them trying to work as hard as they can to get people to vomit on camera. And the person that deposits all 10 flags into their basket first wins. The first female that wins is saved from elimination, and the first male that finishes gets an NHL Ultimate package, which was actually pretty cool. Continuing the theme
my left nut for this win, right?
Continuing the theme of great prizes, you get NHL Center Ice, you get 25 tickets to games, and there were a couple of other like random like add-ons to there. So very good prize.
I pay for it.
They also cut to Evan being Canadian with this one, where they're like, "Oh, Evan would really like that one." He also played hockey, and wonder who's running the mission for the guys.
Yeah, they kind of telegraphed every bit of that.
Phase 1 begins, and if I'm doing this, the strategy that I have is I don't want to eat any like meat really, because like there's only so much meat you can eat. But when think about like when you've been at your fullest, pretty much, right? What sounds the worst is like meat or like anything fatty, but then someone brings some ice cream out and you're like, oh yeah, I could have like some ice cream, you know what I mean? Or like you can like pretty much like just like pick it like fries forever. So it was interesting to see people like go for the ribs and stuff.
Yeah, CT and Evan had the right strategy of they got the liquid stuff, and like liquid is going to weigh way more than the solids, and it's way easier to get it into your stomach. I mean, meat you have to chew. Like anything you can get in your stomach fast and in volume is going to weigh more.
Or like smashing food onto each other, so it's just on your shirt instead of.
That was funny to watch. Like this challenge in the first half is pretty terrible. But watching CT and Evan throw food at each other, and then CT over-exaggerating, getting on the scale and showing his belly, like it's all entertaining. So even though it's kind of lame, it's still entertaining to watch.
Okay, in general, are you in or out on food emissions?
I'm on the fence.
I'm on the fence too, because like if you're eating 1 or 2 pieces of super gross things, I'm all in. Like the Survivor eat the live bug kind of thing. I'm all in on that. You have to like Rivals 1's feast that you had to eat. to me, that's just borderline dangerous, and it's a bad look because everyone's going to puke 10 times. There's no way that the human body can
the rivals 2-1 with like the durian that like they couldn't swallow.
Yeah, like stuff like that that's borderline dangerous. Like, I'm out. Like, I think it's irresponsible, but it's the challenge.
I'm much more on the outside than the inside for the eating missions.
Kina, Robin, DM, CT, and Evan are the team that wins phase 1. They move on to phase 2, and CT beats Evan by a decent amount and in the wind sprints, and DM wins for the women. And we find out that
Johnny Mosley emerges.
Johnny Mosley
Tic-tac rules
appears from the shadows and lets CT knows that he did not actually win because when he ran the wind sprints, he did not retrieve the flags in the order that they were supposed to be retrieved. He retrieved the last flag first, so he went to the very end of the course, retrieved the flag, and then came back when you're supposed to go to the first flag.
Yep. You had to get the first flag on the first pole first, and then you could do it in any order you wanted. So the fact
what is going on here?
This
It's
is
like,
are we peak Johnny Mosley right here.
Are we trying to measure like how athletic and fast people are, or are we not? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like that's
actually not what's. I don't know if that's what's going on
with this specifically, with the wind sprints.
Like, dude, like by the end of this thing, like this is one thing about this mission. The difference in the speed of the competitors from the start to the finish is appalling. Or like Kina looks like she's about to just like roll over at any point and just, I don't even know.
I mean, she's little and she just stuffed her face with how much food? Like,
well, no, I completely understand what I'm saying though. I don't think it's just how fast you are. You have to like be strategic with the food you're eating, I guess. Yeah,
I don't know, because you want to make it onto the second phase though, so you can't really be that strategic.
Yeah, but you also have 4 other people who are doing that too, and the more they eat, the easier it is for you.
If I'm being honest, like I'm looking at my team and I'm looking at the other team, and I'm going, Evan and CT are going to out-eat anybody else that's here, other than Big Easy.
Big Easy and Brad over there. These are not like
Brad. I wouldn't have said Brad would put some food down. I would have said Big Easy could, but not so much Brad. So I'm looking at Evan and CT, and I'm going, all right, I just need to eat enough to get by here because Evan and CT are going to take care of us.
How much weight can you realistically gain in eating in 20 minutes? Like,
maybe,
what do you think?
Maybe 2 to 3 pounds tops.
That is a lot of food, dude.
But that's the thing is if you go liquid with it, like you could.
I don't know, man. That's a ton of weight that you're
a lot of weight.
I could chug probably 2 liters of water in 20 minutes and gain 2 pounds.
Man. Maybe for me, it's just with the way I'm built, it's different. But like 3 pounds is a lot of weight.
Oh yeah,
like especially for like Kina or something.
But I mean, you can say the same thing about everybody's body chemistry. You start the day at your actual weight, and as you drink coffee or eat food, like you gain 2 to 3 pounds throughout your day until you go back to bed.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't know. I just know like it's just funny if you could watch it because like I said at the beginning of the sprint they're actually all they start off booking like they're not lollygagging to start, but by the end like they're just rolling over.
That gets us into the selection for episode 10, and the only interesting thing that happens in the selection process is that Brad ends up picking Robin, despite what he said earlier in the episode, and he makes a comment that said that he's not happy with what Robin said and did to Anissa, but he's not going to like completely submarine his game.
I was about to say, shocking. The game becomes above personal feelings here.
Anissa says that she's upset with Brad, and it comes down to Wes having to decide between Svetlana and Anissa to go into elimination. Wes decides to keep Svetlana safe. Anissa decides that she, surprise, will choose Robin to go in against the duel. And out of the cards, Anissa draws a sender. We already talked about what a sender is. And Robin
was
and
this
Anissa.
Was this the earliest rival that showed up on the rival season?
Well, no, CT and Adam are from Duel in Paris.
Well, okay, yeah. Their real rival, though, is from Duel 2.
Yeah, but when
No,
that was
it's from-
But they
advertised the Gauntlet 3 kind of too, where it was CT poured a beer on Adam's head, remember?
Yeah, he did.
I think that's.
But they also
long
showed a clip of Real
elaborate.
World Paris of like CT shoving Adam and saying he didn't have his back. So yeah, you're probably right. CT Adam was earlier than this one. All right.
And like
I
Johnny
think
Tyler's also from Key West.
Well, Johnny Tyler was from this.
Yeah.
Like Johnny
But
and
yeah,
Tyler
they
were
bring
cool.
up a few things, but they say from Key West.
Really?
That's what they
Having
say.
seen the Key West season, they really didn't have conflict. Their
Yeah,
conflict.
but like
came
neither
from
did
the fact
Marlon
that-
and Jordan on Rivals 2.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I mean, all of
Rivals
that's-
2.
All of that's extremely loose.
I was about to say Johnny and Frank were partners because of Twitter. Like Rivals 2, when it comes to the Rivals thing, is a little loose in comparison.
We start a sender between Anissa and Robin. Anissa gets an early lead, but nothing major. And Robin really shoots herself in the foot here because when she climbs to the top of the rope and across the monkey bars, she isn't able to get her puzzle pieces to release and can't get them to come down. And I think she says at the end she doesn't know that there was like some hoop that you had to pull to get them to fall. But Anissa wins this, but it wasn't by much. And if Robin actually didn't have an issue with the puzzle pieces, I think she probably would have taken it home.
Man, can you imagine what a blow? Like, what do you do from an editing perspective if Robin wins this elimination?
Yeah.
It's brutal regardless. I mean, it's a no-win situation from an editing standpoint. You're like, okay, evil wins. Sorry.
Like, yeah, you need Anissa to win this one.
What's interesting, though, is if you look at the reaction of a lot of the people, everyone does look disappointed that Robin lost.
Well, for one, a bunch of them are aligned with her. For two, I think it's also just kind of an awkward situation.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, what Robin did was horrible, and I am not backing down from the fact that what she did was horrible. But at the end of the day, it becomes the situation of, okay, who am I aligned with politically? I'm here to win money, and I've, aligned myself with said person to stay safe, so I'm going to look kind of disappointed, but not really.
It's kind of, do you think it's odd they kept casting Robin after this? Well, I guess when does she appear back up again? Is it Island?
It's not that odd because
Gauntlet
the
3.
challenge
Gauntlet.
loves drama. I mean, dude, if you're
Yeah, and I
dramatic,
guess the Camilla thing was really, she doesn't get casted again because of
the challenge all-star thing was hit a producer.
Yeah, where she hits the
That-
producer with the golf. That is really wild looking back on it, too.
The fact that you can say some of the most racist, vile things in the history of the show, and that doesn't get you kicked off. It's the fact that you hit a producer is what finally was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, that's why she's uninsurable. That's we might have to do an episode. It's a bad season, but it's such a wow. It's like Terrell Owens is on it.
Dude, the CT burn on Terrell Owens is one of the funniest things in the history of reality TV, in my opinion, where he's like, I didn't burn through $100 million. And it was like, oh, shit. Yeah, he said it. And he called the fact that T.O. is all talk and no backup there because he quit the show and went home.
So that season's a mess.
And that concludes episode 10. There isn't much that really happens. I think that's pretty much where the episode ends. How did we feel about these 6 episodes?
I'm in. I love these episodes.
These are good. I mean, the season as a whole is an A to me, if we're going letter grades. But the beginning is excellent. This continues the stories and isn't horrible. But these next set of episodes really bring home how great this season is. And you have the Wes Derrick elimination. I mean, shoot, the Wes Derrick elimination is worth the price of admission for this block of episodes alone.
Yeah, I think this is better than the first set of episodes.
I agree. And with that, thank you for listening. We appreciate all of the people who subscribe, download, stream, however you find us. We're very grateful. The next podcast episode will be over the last 6 episodes of The Duel. Thank you for listening, and talk to you soon.